welcome in to Check the Mic. Steve Palazzolo, Sam Monson. We are live on YouTube, coming at you from, I believe it's the Antonio Cromartie studio, in part with Huggies this time around. And it's our wild card review. It could have been something. Well,
we're in negotiations for a third name of the studio. See how those go.
Yeah, there are negotiations going on. But for now, that's the name of the studio. That's where we are. And we're going to stick with the two names that will continue to cycle through. Welcome in.
Yeah.
It's wild card weekend.
Super wild card weekend.
Super wild. There's still a game to go.
And it was super up until, that game wasn't that
That's
super.
the worst game of the weekend.
Yeah. But the other game's super.
For tonight, for this week, and for the next 2 weeks, coming at you from Sunday night, rather than Monday morning. We figured we'll get this out as soon as we possibly can. So we're live on Sunday night. Just saw the Patriots defeat the Chargers. We are going to go in order, though, through the 5 current games. And then tomorrow night, watch along. Tomorrow night, if you are a member, if you haven't signed up, sign up for the memberships. We get this extra perk where you can sit with us and watch Steelers and Texans. Watch along. We'll go live and recap that right after it's over tomorrow night.
Yeah, where the Steelers will somehow pull the miracle and Tomlin will get his upset win on Monday Night Football like he always does.
Absolutely happen. So try unmuting. I think other people are hearing us. Somebody said no sound. I would hope
that would be embarrassing.
That's not the case. But I only saw one person saw it. No,
it would be embarrassing if we screwed up. It would be embarrassing if they screwed up.
No, we're
good. Embarrassing for somebody.
It's them. You were on mute. Just turn up the volume. All right, here we go. You ready to go?
Yeah.
We're going game by game. Started yesterday. What a weekend, by the way. Wild card weekend.
Amazing. Genuinely super wild card weekend. All but that last game were really close, razor-thin margins.
The high level really quick before we get into it, because we could be here forever, right? We might be here for 3 hours. Just want to say, we've talked about the league, the parity, the idea that when we're breaking down teams in the offseason, it doesn't feel like there's a big disparity between teams. I felt that this weekend. Even a Rams-Panthers game that we're about to talk about.
Nick Wright had a tweet that dating back to last Sunday night, we've had 8 do-or-die football games, and 7 of them have been absolute classics that came down to the final play/minute. I don't think I've ever experienced anything quite like it. I mean, it genuinely was crazy. And then, by the way, some guy replied, and he's like, not that I'm a conspiracy theorist or anything, but don't you find that a little bit suspicious? Like, no, I don't. And if you do, you're trying too hard.
Yes.
Skepticism is good. Finding conspiracies everywhere, you've gone too far the other way.
Yeah.
It's good to question things.
There are conspiracies,
but
just not everywhere.
When you find the conspiracy in everything, you've gone too far in the opposite direction. The line to chart is somewhere in the middle between blindly following and believing everything and questioning everything.
They tell me it's not called Super Wildcard Weekend anymore.
Really?
I think they did lose the Super, but it's still Super to me.
But it's been Super since they brought it in.
It's still Super to me, so I will continue
to
agree that it is Super. All right, it all started yesterday, Saturday afternoon. Can't use yesterday, today, or tomorrow, because who knows when people are listening to this thing. I'm fired up. Los Angeles Rams got the win in a back-and-forth game. By the way, the first 3 games, I believe, starting with this one, it was 34-31 this one, by the way. I believe it was 10 fourth-quarter lead changes. This game had 3 alone. Fourth-quarter lead. It was 9 or 10 fourth-quarter lead changes in the first 4 games. So the Los Angeles Rams get the win, 34-31. It started out much like the Packers-Bears game. It started out where the favorite gets up early, and you're like, okay, of course.
Yeah.
The Rams are way better than the Panthers, but man, the Panthers fought back, and I thought they had it. They had it for a while.
I did. As we texted the good doctor yesterday, I'm like, I thought they were going to do it late in the game, which is bizarre because early in the game, I thought they were going to get wrecked. I came this close to messaging you, well, that's the Panthers screwed, after, initially, way short on third down, Liggett fought his way to get to the sort of 4th and 1 mark so they could actually think about going for it in their own 45. They go for it. The Rams get a pass breakup there. So immediately 4th down. One of the things we said had to go their way, like the last time. If they were going to win this game, they were going to need the high variance stuff again, the turnovers, all those kinds of things. Immediately they go for it on 4th and 1, don't get it. The Rams then, almost instant score, just looks way too easy. They can't cover Puka Nacua. They score 7-0. And then the Panthers, then you're like, that couldn't have started much worse. And then you get the interception a little bit later on. There's, back and forth for a couple of drives. And then you get the Bryce Young interception. Jalen Coker kind of stopped his route going across the field. And you're like, they're turning the ball over and not getting fourth down things, and the Rams are finding it this easy to score. I mean, the Panthers are screwed. I nearly messaged you that, and I was like, let's just give it a little bit longer. And, similar kind of thing, they never quite got far enough out of sight to be like, this is done.
Yeah. The Panthers, I think they played the high variance game that we had suggested. They threw the ball down the field a lot more. The first fourth down, by the way, was their own
45.
Their own 45. And it was a big weekend. Like, there was a lot of fourth down failures this weekend.
Yeah.
The Bears had a bunch, which we'll talk about. The Panthers had this one. Again, shout out. I think Greg Olsen did a good job explaining the why, right? Explaining that they're, I think it's similar to what we said on the preview show. They're 10-point underdogs, and you have to lean into that. The variance piece is you got to hit your fourth downs. You got to get, some tip passes. You got to get some turnovers. You got to get some things to go your way, and you have to play a game where they could be low percentage passes down the field, but when you hit them, you've got an opportunity to flip the field and make some plays, and that's what the Panthers did to keep this thing close, and eventually, took the lead and had the lead in the fourth quarter.
Well, also the point he was making, I think, is you can't use a failure to get gun shy from them, right?
True.
Like, the only way of getting that loss back is to double down and do it again, right? It's like blackjack. You can't be scared away by the one that doesn't hit. You've got to keep going and making the right decisions again. You got to play the math and try and work it in your favor. So just because you fail at 4th and 1 from your own 45, if you then punt the next time that situation comes up, now you're compounding a failure with a bad decision the next time around. I mean, that's even worse than, going for it again and trying to get it back. So, yeah, look, they're never going to be 100%. I mean, they are risky inherently, but the only way of the game going in your direction is to be aggressive on those and try and take advantage of them.
So the Rams are up 17-7, and it did feel like, and then you have Trevor Etienne muffing a punt.
Yeah,
well.
The first half couldn't have gone much worse for Carolina. They also lose their left tackle, Ike Ekwonu, whose knee just buckles on him. And you're like, you've got a failure on fourth down. You've got a bad turnover where a receiver seems to sort of make a mistake. You've got Etienne muffing a punt and screwing up. You've got rough defensive pass interference calls. Like, all sorts of things are going against you. And yet, again, it never got quite out of sight.
But just before the half, so the Rams, they get the muff punt, but they did stop the Rams on 4th and 1.
Yeah.
And so it's 17-7. Rams have this in hand. Panthers drive down, and with 44 seconds left on 3rd and 10, Bryce Young scrambles for a touchdown, 16 yards, to get within 3 at the half.
And even that drive. So they do get the fourth down stop, and now they've got like 90 seconds to work to try and get something before the half. And then the first play, it was almost like a give-up run. I don't think it was intended to be, but it was a bad run that went nowhere. And you're like, that's an awful start to this drive where you've got 90 seconds, not necessarily in the best position whatsoever. But then they get defensive pass interference for like 30-something yards to Jalen Coker down the sideline. Now you've got like a minute inside the red zone. Now you've got plenty of time and field position to work with. And then you get the Bryce Young scramble for the touchdown. And all of a sudden, what was an absolute ass-kicking for most of that first half is a 3-point game going into the half.
Yeah, it was 28-yard pass interference and then a 37-yard deep pass to Coker, and then a couple incomplete passes, and then the scramble for a touchdown. So that's the thing, right? They took some chances, right? They didn't just, dink and dunk and try to get a field goal. I think they ran the ball on first down as just like, let's at least get the clock going, so that if we fail, we're not giving the Rams another opportunity. Those are always interesting calls when there's like a minute 37, minute 50, that type of thing. Like, you almost want to get the clock going. It's almost like waiting for you're running the shot clock at the end of a quarter in the NBA or in basketball, and you're like, we're going to have the last shot. So I think that's why they did it. But when it goes nowhere, it's a tough start to the drive. So the Panthers are hanging around, right? It was another one of those games. It was actually very similar to the Rams-Seahawks Thursday night game, where the Rams had all the yardage, and you were like, they should be up 3 scores.
Yeah.
They're dominating this game, and they're not. They were not. And look, the Panthers defense did hang tough. They made some plays. Mm-hmm. Stafford with a big interception that kind of also let the Panthers back into it. So there were some high leverage plays in there as well. The Panthers defense made some big plays. Stafford did hit his hand on a helmet at one point, and I know Olsen was theorizing maybe that's affected him throwing. Now, it didn't affect him right away. He zipped one to Puka Nacua right before the half.
Hit him in the face.
Hit him in the face.
And he dropped it.
But he was off in the second half. I know it was windy.
Yeah.
Stafford, like the beginning of the second half, Stafford was all over the place throwing the ball.
It was a golden age, golden weekend for color guys just playing doctor and making up random things. You know, you had Greg Olson here theorizing that Stafford's entire game came down to the hitting his finger on the helmet thing. Romo was out here like diagnosing everything this weekend. Like, let me tell you about the 16 different ways his mechanics have changed since that little incident I saw. And Nance leaning into it every single time.
Tony.
Look, that was a huge thing as well. So Carolina get the touchdown, 14-17, 3-point game. Panthers are still in it all of a sudden. Then the Rams go to reply, and Stafford rips an absolute dime, beans Puka Nacua right in the head. If he catches it, it's a touchdown with like 20 seconds left in the half. J.C. Horn got absolutely smoked on a double move. Instead, Puka Nacua drops it, and then the Rams don't get that score. Like, that would have put it back to being a 10-point game instead of a 3-point game. Would have been a huge play given how close it came after that.
The other missed opportunity for the Rams in the first half, so Puka drop or whatever you want to call that play, Devontae Adams was also open running behind the defense a little bit before that, and Stafford missed him. So there was a couple downfield pass missed opportunities from the Rams. So it's 17-14 at the half. Panthers get a field goal. They finally settle for a field goal on 4th and 3 from the 28 to tie it at 17. There was not a lot of field goal settling around the NFL, to the dismay of a lot of people who love watching field goals, but that tied it up at 17. It was 20-17, and Stafford throws a 3rd and long interception. So like when you get this interception and then later the blocked punt, those were the two things where I'm like, all right, the Panthers can do this here.
Yeah.
I still have been on record saying I trust the Rams as much as any team in the NFC in particular. I trust them as much as any team. And I'm starting to where that's a little leaky right now. They pulled off the win here. That's a little leaky, I think, is the defense. I thought, Quentin Lake came back, and he was a big player, plays the slot, plays safety as this hybrid role in that defense for the Rams, and not having him for the last 6 or 7 weeks has been an issue. He was out there, he made some plays, but he got toasted in coverage a couple times as well. And so the defense was not great for the Rams. And then Stafford's turnovers, man. Like even though what do you have? 8 interceptions, whatever it was this year. There were other games where he got away with some stuff. I think those are the things that can derail the Rams, is the turnovers, and then, of course, special teams.
Yes.
Which popped up again with the blocked punt. But the interception was the first thing, again, that just got the Panthers right back in there, got them some life. Bryce Young hit Jalen Coker again on the big dig route. It was like they were just exchanging big dig routes, the big in, right? That was a big part of both teams' game plan. Middle of the field was wide open. That helped flip the field there. Puka Nacua, by the way, also saved another interception.
Yes, he did.
On the 3rd and 1. I know that's in your notes. We always talk about receivers saving. So there was a lot of if he plays there from Stafford, putting the ball in harm's way.
There was, yeah, he did. Mike Jackson for the Panthers had an absolutely huge game. He had the interception that started that thing. He had a couple of pass breakups, I think. I think PFF put out his coverage stats. It was something like 7 targets, 1 catch for 18 yards with an interception and 2 pass breakups.
Did he? The All-Pro team came out this weekend. Was he second team All-Pro, I believe?
He was up there. Yeah. He certainly had a deserving case.
You got to check Rob Body's Twitter account for the official squad. Mike Jackson, former Seahawk, and the Seahawks were so loaded at corner. Like, he had an okay career, but just before the 24 season, they traded him to the Panthers, for a late pick or whatever it was. And he was solid last year. He's had an outstanding season though for the Panthers.
Yes,
especially
he's been
with
great
J.C.
this
Horn.
year. But he was spectacular in this game. Yeah.
Especially with J.C. Horn in and out of the lineup. So Mike Jackson with some big plays in this one. So the entire fourth quarter, right? It's 20-17 Rams. Chuba Hubbard puts the Panthers up with a 3-yard touchdown. They're up 24-20. Stafford comes back. They hit the angle route, the Texas route to Kyron Williams for a 13-yard touchdown. And then, just under 3 minutes left, Bryce Young comes back with just an unbelievable throw to Jalen Coker. Was that a good throw or what? Again, 3rd and 3. They're still probably going to go for it. They're down 3. This is why it was huge, right? 3rd and 3 from the 7. And if this is incomplete on 3rd down, probably kicking a field goal to tie it. And Bryce Young puts it right on Jalen Coker. What a beautiful throw. that was.
And a great catch.
And a great catch. Coker had a huge game. What do you
like? The coverage was tight on that play.
Coker finishes with 134 on 9 catches, including a 52-yarder in there. And so they've got the lead. And then it's like, all right, Stafford's got a lot of comebacks in his career. Lead the comeback. And
and he did.
They did it. And with I know a lot of Panthers fans were upset. They played prevent and they played soft and they weren't getting pressure on Stafford. But they got some pressure on Stafford. It wasn't like they were killing him up front. And J.C. Horn was out of the game at this point, which is a factor.
Yeah, a huge factor. But those 2 go-ahead touchdowns, Bryce Young's and then Matthew Stafford's to answer. I mean, they were both really impressive passes. Very different, but very each one was a spectacular pass and catch. Both ends of the spectrum were pretty impressive because the coverage was good on both of them, particularly Stafford's. I mean, Merrick is all over that, and it's just a perfect pass and catch to Colby Parkinson, high and away. And it's basically placed exactly where it needs to be. Anywhere else, and Merrick's going to be able to get either something on the ball or enough on Parkinson to stop him being able to bring it in, be able to play through his hands or whatever. The exact ball location where it was, he had no play on the ball, and it's like it's the perfect example of that. The perfect throw and the perfect catch beat the perfect coverage every time. That was perfect coverage, and there was nothing he could do about it.
It was a great throw by Stafford, and what a smooth catch, and he was 2 yards away from the end zone, just a catch and keep his momentum going to turn it into the touchdown. And then after that, I mean, the Panthers still had time. They still had a little bit of time. They had an opportunity, but that was, Rams did a really nice job. If you go back and watch the dig route, you try to, it's common around the NFL, right? You try to run off the safety, run the dig behind it. It's one of the most common routes and route combos you're going to see in 2-minute drills. I mean, that's how you pick up 25, 30-yard chunks pretty quickly. The Rams covered them up pretty well, and the Panthers didn't really have any other answers on that final drive.
No. I think they had 32 seconds to go where they drew the field goal line was, the field goal range, their random one line that they've decided is the number. It was 32 seconds to go 32 yards to get into field goal range, which is just a nice little
32 seconds, 32 yards, and they just go 4 and out, 4 incomplete passes. And, and that was it, man.
Didn't get there.
The last pass, by the way, dropped by Jimmy Horn Jr. They still had an opportunity.
It was it wasn't a good pass in that it was low and dropping, and but it was catchable. And it's I think Olsen said it, just go to ground. He's running, across the field. He thinks he can drop down. Just lower his hands down to or even beyond his knee and keep going. And it's dude, it's do or die on this play. You just have to make that catch. Forget trying to keep running. Running doesn't matter anymore. Come up with the ball. It's dropping. You can't try and keep your feet. You've got to go to ground and make sure you get it.
So anything else as far as the game flow or key plays or anything? Because I think since it is Wild Card Weekend, we should do a quick recap on the winning team. What do we think about them going forward? And then the losing team, sum up their season. I mean, we won't do a full season in review, but anything else on the flow of the game or key plays or anything that you had in your notes you wanted to?
No, I mean, the basic script was, the Rams hammered the Panthers for almost the entire first half. And then right before the half, the Panthers got a couple of plays bounced their way and turned what was an ass-kicking into a really close game. And then the second half, Carolina's defense, I think, did a way better job and really kept them in it and gave them a real chance to win the game. And then eventually it just came down to, go-ahead touchdown drive for Bryce Young, chance to answer for Stafford, and he did. And, they didn't do a good enough job on their go-ahead touchdown drive. Isaiah Simmons, we need to mention, who had the punt block, but also made a really good play as a gunner earlier on special teams as well. I mean, remember, Isaiah Simmons, this linebacker-sized defensive back, effectively, who was a former first-round pick. I still think could potentially be a useful defensive back somewhere, but is now just a special teams guy. But he still has that freakish size and speed, which is pretty useful as a special teams guy. There's a lot of guys on special teams that do not have that freakish size and speed. And you can now deploy this guy as a absurd athlete gunner or a dude to just run over somebody and block a punt.
That was when I was thinking. I mean, when you watch these games, I always talk about the favorite and the underdog and how the game flow works. And you have some games where the favorite starts off slow, and then eventually the longer the game goes, over time, the favorite usually pulls away, right? But in the times when an upset happens, you get the Stafford interception, and this happened with 4:18 left in the game, right? The Rams were punting with a 3-point lead. They're just going to punt, play defense, and say, all right, Bryce Young, go ahead, drive down the field, game-tying field goal or take the lead, go for it. And Simmons blocks the punt. And that was where I was thinking, I really thought the Panthers were pulling this off at that point. So it's a pretty, they get the ball at the 30, and it's just a 30-yard drive that finished with the Bryce Young to Jalen Coker touchdown. And the Rams, they answered, man. And I posed the question, just from the Rams' perspective, I posed the question after the game, do you feel more confident in the Rams or less confident? So you're playing an 8-9 team. It's on the road. That place was bumping, by the way. It sounded loud. Yeah. It sounded our friend Jordan Rodriguez from the Athletics said the press box was shaking and everything. It sounded like the crowd was into it. Mm-hmm. But do you feel more or less confident as the Rams go to play the Bears that they can go on this Super Bowl run? Because, again, 7 or 8 weeks ago, this was universally acknowledged as the best all-around team in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you could feel more confident about them coming out of that game, but they got to win, which is the only thing that really matters.
I feel the same amount of confidence. I don't think it matters that they played close to the Panthers. But what I think mattered, the reason why I have confidence in them was the game-winning drive, is that type of stuff, is that Puka Nacua can take over a game. Stafford can make big-time throws, chunk plays when they need to make in comeback situations. I'm a little less confident in their defense, particularly their corners. Right? They were beat up at points, the pass interference and some of the big plays. And then the special teams that we've talked about a lot with the Rams. When they've lost games, they're all 5 losses this year? You go back and it's like blocked kick here,
that's
and
critical.
Special teams there.
Yeah.
And they made the special teams coach change.
Yes.
And it still popped up here in the playoffs.
That's the thing. They made a special teams coach change, and there hadn't been a special teams gaffe really since that, I think. And in fact, actually, they've made a couple of big plays on special teams. It's like, well, they fixed it. They got rid of the coach. The coach was the problem, and now the special teams is good. But all of a sudden, the special teams pops up again in the worst situation and could have cost them the game. Didn't, but came pretty close. So, I mean, that might be a genuine problem that's going to be an issue over the course of these playoffs. We say all the time, you don't even need your special teams to be good. You just need it to be not the reason you're losing football games. Yeah. And it has been the reason they're losing football games for the Rams. And doesn't mean it's going to be the reason they lose every game or that it's necessarily going to be the reason they lose any given game. But if your special teams has cost you multiple games in the course of a season, it's a problem.
And then on the other side, from a Panthers perspective, I'm sure it's nice to win the division. Even, it's 8-9, but still, you're a team that had a terrible defense last year, historically bad defense from a points and yards allowed perspective. Got better on defense, still not great. Showed signs of life at times on offense and just won a few big games. And you go 8-10, including the playoffs. But I think second year of Dave Canales and the whole front office intact as far as Dr. Eager and Brent Tillis and Dan Morgan, like getting all those guys together again for another year. I think they're moving in the right direction, have to be feeling pretty good.
Yeah, I feel, this is about as good as I think you can feel coming off a playoff loss if you're Carolina. Like, they got their way into there. I think they wouldn't have been expecting to do that going into the season, realistically. The way they did it is kind of interesting as well because it's not like they were just an average football team with that record and won the right games and lost the right games, They beat good teams. Like, they beat the Rams. They almost beat the Rams again. They beat some very good football teams over the course of the season. Now, okay, they offset that by losing to some pretty bad football teams, so it's not all good. But I think you feel the net of that is somehow better than just losing to the good teams and beating the bad teams. It somehow feels better if you've actually managed to beat some good football teams along the way as well. And then you can be like, well, look, this is what we can do if we iron out all the kinks. And then this playoff performance was impressive. Bryce Young, for all of his limitations or inconsistency, does seem to have that, cool under pressure gene late in the games. A lot of his sort of career game-winning drive comeback type statistics are just a product of the fact that they're always down late in the game.
Yeah.
But
those numbers, really quick, those numbers generally are better by not just listing game-winning drives. The fact that 12 of his 14 career wins have involved a game-winning drive. Like, usually it's a better stat if you say, like, out of how many attempts and you get a percentage or whatever.
But
the point is he's led a lot of fourth quarter comebacks by making a lot of clutch throws.
And there is something to these situations where he's late in the game, does not look flustered, does not look rattled, is making calm, cool decisions under pressure. And, in this game, put them ahead, right? That's all you can do is put them ahead and hope your defense holds. And, okay, the defense didn't hold. Now, you could argue again, okay, 32 seconds to go, 32 yards, or maybe you could have done it again and didn't. But I think overall there's some reasons for optimism for Bryce Young as well. This was the game where, again, his average depth of target was like 3 yards higher than it's been in a lot of games this season. He was more aggressive in this game, and it bore some good results. Not spectacular results, but either he made some big plays down the field or he gets a defensive pass interference call as well go his way. Like, there are good things that happened when Bryce Young was more aggressive in the course of the game, and that was a big reason they were in the game, let alone, had a chance to win it.
You could see another offseason, which, by the way, they have to make their decision before, is it May 1st, on the fifth-year option.
Right.
So,
he needs to take a step forward, but games like this, I think, would make you think that he can.
Yeah, and I think there's an idea that if you unleash him a little bit more, Tetero McMillan looked great as a rookie. Jalen Coker looks fantastic as a good 1-2 punch. Add a little tight end threat over there and continue to shore up the defense, particularly the pass rush. I know yesterday we talked about how they were in on Milton Williams till the last second during free agency, and just having that one impact player. We just saw Milton Williams. It's not that they show up every single play. It's that Milton Williams beats Bradley Bozeman in 1.3 seconds, is in the backfield for a sack. I mean, just need a couple of those plays and that type of disruption more consistently. The Panthers could use a little bit more of that, but again, it's moving in the right direction, I would say.
Yeah, and it's not even, I wouldn't use the term unleash him more, because I think it's him keeping himself back. I feel like he's unduly conservative for a guy who can make more plays than that. They need to figure out how to force him into this kind of aggression, right? Like, you might want to be more conservative and, take the easy stuff and always play, but actually the best things happen when you're more aggressive. And we'll even live with some more mistakes if we can force you into just throwing the ball, being a bit more YOLO, right? Tap into your inner Jameis a bit more. Don't go all the way, because that's bad. But, what would Jameis do a little bit?
Would you bring Jameis in as a backup?
I mean, I don't know. Does just being around Jameis cause you to be more aggressive as a quarterback?
Just let him bring Bryce to Super Bowl. I can't wait.
Like, maybe he doesn't need to be his backup, but maybe you could arrange like a weekly Zoom call with Jameis or something, right?
Bring him in as a backup. Bring him in as the backup. Just YOLO next year.
The Milton Williams thing, by the way, is pretty fascinating because, we talked about this at the time, that there's a really interesting dynamic where, you want to do the correct, quote unquote, the optimal decision from a roster construction standpoint and a money ball system, and there's only a finite amount of dollars, and where do you put it? And it's like, but there's also only so many players in the NFL, and sometimes there isn't a good option beyond the guy that you have a shot at, and sometimes you might have to overpay, because the alternative is you don't get that guy, and then you throw the dollars elsewhere, and even the net of those guys, like the aggregate of those guys, is not as good as the guy that you would have been overpaying for. So this was the discussion, right? The Panthers drew a line in the sand and said he's not worth more than this amount of money. And whilst that might be true, would they have been better if they had Milton Williams, even for more money? Milton Williams makes a play that basically ends the game for the Patriots. Meanwhile, the Panthers, would Milton Williams have made the difference on that defense against the Rams? Maybe he would have. Like that, he might have been the difference between them winning this game and not, and could have been the difference between the Patriots winning that game and not. Like all for the amount of whatever million or so it was that the Panthers wouldn't go beyond.
And we'd like to think we're smarter than just summing up an off-season $26 million decision to one play. The point is, if the Panthers are able to line up with Derek Brown and Milton Williams and rookie Nick Scorton, who they got a month later in the draft, it's like, all right, now late in the game when you're trying to hold a lead, when you got that four-man rush going, can you at least create some havoc? So
yeah, I'm not saying those two plays.
But that's what we talk about in March, though, right? Yeah. When free agency comes up, we're like, they made this decision to not go beyond a certain number for Milton Williams and instead bring in Turk Wharton and Pat Jones and Bobby Brown.
It's just interesting that in the first playoff weekend, you can directly point to the impact of Milton Williams in both the team that he joined and the team that he didn't join.
Anything else on this one?
I feel like so we talk about special teams for the Rams. They have to have the heaviest kicking duo in the NFL by like 100 pounds.
I knew you were going to bring some good insights.
What's his name? Weavis? Is that the kicker's name?
Thicker kicker?
Yeah.
Thicker
but the
kicker.
punter's pretty chunky too.
That's
I
good
saw
stuff.
well they had because at one point they had to.
Did Janikowski, his Leckler wasn't that big, but did Janikowski take enough thick for both of them that they were
Leckler
leading
was
that?
pretty.
I mean, he was hefty.
He was just a big dude. Like Leckler was just a pretty
built,
sizable guy.
He was built.
Yeah, but no, like I feel like the Rams kickers are both carrying some excess poundage. You know, that they could.
That's why I threw it back to you for more insight.
Yeah, there you go. Look, punter 6'4", 231, listed.
Fantastic. Got to take advantage of that.
6'4", 231. So 231. And what is their kicker?
So the Rams are playing the Bears. I'll tell you about. I'll break the whole divisional round schedule right after I tell you about FanDuel.
Cool.
You know how fast NFL game days move. One big play and everything changes. That's why live betting on FanDuel is a game changer. With FanDuel, you can bet in real time while the game unfolds. Score just flipped. You can jump on a new spread or a live money line. That wide receiver's heating up. Or you could bet the next touchdown score or total yards. Think that drive's going to stall in the red zone? You can take a live field goal prop or fade the total. Live player props, team totals, drive results, updated spreads, next play markets. It's all there. It's fast, it's fun, and with FanDuel, your live bets move as quickly as the game does. So whether you're riding the momentum or fading the hype, FanDuel puts you right in the middle of every moment. Visit FanDuel.com/33rd to download the app and bet the NFL live all season long.
So we got it.
You must be 21 plus and present in select states for Kansas in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino. You killed me. 18 plus and present in D.C., Kentucky, or Wyoming. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Visit rg-help.com. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York. Paid endorsement.
It's a lot to get through when you feel under pressure.
Yes.
So it's a combined.
Oh, jeez.
It's a combined 484 pounds for the two kickoffs or the two kickers with the Rams. That has to lead the NFL by a mile.
So now I will announce. What are their names again? I don't watch.
Harrison Mevis, which is just a bizarre name.
Coming down the aisle,
No
I will announce them at a combined weight of 484 pounds. I'll do it as the Fink.
Yeah.
The thicker kicker and
Ethan Evans.
Ethan Evans.
Who's just a big
Total
guy.
combined weight, 484.
He's just a big guy carrying some excess poundage.
You had to really look that up.
I did.
Does anybody remember the Fink?
No, probably
Our
not.
crowd, like I know our member. When we asked our members the last watch along, we were like, yeah,
It feels
safe
like
space, drop your age in here. And there was a lot of people in their 40s, right? There was a lot of people in our age bracket, but I assume we're trending a little bit younger with a big part of our crowd who won't remember my or have no idea what my 80s and 90s wrestling references mean or anything.
when you consider the careers that the Buffer brothers went on, like the world domination court, like Michael
won't
Buffer
imitate that.
trademarked this thing and made millions, and then Bruce Buffer's got his own line of everything, and he's got his own trademarks and stuff. Like those guys have made millions. Poor old Fink. I mean, I don't think he did particularly well out of that gig.
He didn't have a special catchphrase.
He must have had something.
The following contest is
I bet he did,
scheduled for
and
one fall.
I bet he did, and Vince just didn't let him trademark anything.
Probably not.
Vince, like, I own all of that.
No, Vince made sure that they owned
Everything.
all of your NIL
Yeah.
was Vince's. You
Except-
turned over all of your NIL.
Except Hulk Hogan somehow.
No, Hogan, he got to be the Hulkster forever. I mean, Warrior tried to fight it by changing his name to Warrior. He's
Yeah.
like, sorry, you don't own Ultimate Warrior anymore. It's my name now. Sorry. So if you change your name,
It's true.
then you can own it.
Yeah.
That is what the Ultimate Warrior, Jim Hellwig, did.
Mm-hmm.
Breaking news. Here's your divisional round breakdown. On Saturday, the Buffalo Bills will face the Denver Broncos, and the San Francisco 49ers will face the Seattle Seahawks. Times to be determined.
TBD.
And on Sunday, it'll be the Rams at the Bears, and the winner of tomorrow night's game, Texans-Steelers at the Patriots. Times TBD. So what I'm curious what the Texans-Steelers, like how this is going to impact the times. Like they can't announce the times on Saturday?
No.
Have they updated it since then? Have they announced it?
We also have to shout out Magnus in the chat for gifting 5 free memberships to people.
So that's 5 more people who can join us tomorrow night.
It is.
For free. To join us tomorrow night for the watch along.
For the watch along.
We have also discussed, really, before we get into the next game, Packers-Bears, we have discussed a watch-along where we'll do like a draft scouting watch-along. And for me, I've watched a few of these players more than you. It'll be like an intro. It'll be like Sam's first look at Fernando Mendoza and Dante Moore and Ty Simpson and of course other positions as well. Is that interesting to you? So we'll find. I don't know what we'll just watch the film and convey your initial thoughts on this player?
What I think we should do...
Or do we find something that we can all watch together?
No, so we should...
we should just watch YouTube highlights of Fernando Mendoza?
This is the thing. There are people that do those cut-ups on YouTube.
Let's do highlight scouting. Okay,
the ones that do the cut-ups, because they're already out there on YouTube.
Yeah.
So we can't be... they've already taken the risk themselves. If it's going to get, claimed for copyright.
It's fair use.
Right.
We're good. It's fair use. So that's what we'll do, right?
So then we can do like picture-in-picture or whatever.
We'll do picture-in-picture. So we'll do it's like a scouting watch-along. It'll be Sam's first look.
Because we've never done that, so we have no idea how.
We have no idea if this will be good. I'm just asking if people would want to do this. In Mohawk, I want to watch old drafts. If Sam doesn't want to do it, I'll crank out like 10 of these things.
That was pretty bad content.
You thought it was bad content?
Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
No, it's pretty
I'll watch old drafts with all you guys. I don't care. I'm in. I will watch 97 through 2015. I want to do one where we had takes on the players, like where we had evaluated the players and we go back and talk about what we thought of. I think that'll do well next time. We'll do well next time. All right, Saturday night, the Chicago Bears get the win, 31-27 over the Green Bay Packers. What a game. The Bears score 25 points in the fourth quarter.
Again.
To pull off this win.
Seems like they do it every week.
Unbelievable. The Packers were up 21-3. And I'll just be honest. I thought when they settled for the first field goal to make it 21-6, it's over. Like they're not putting the ball in the end zone. Then they had to settle for another field goal to make it 21-9. They failed on their 4 out of their first 5 fourth downs. How did the Bears have so many lives to be able to come back and win this game, Sam?
I really don't know. The 3 games for this series, Green Bay against Chicago this season, they've all had the exact same script. Like the Packers have been the better team for most of the game, have built some kind of lead, and then late in the game, the ball's been in Caleb Williams' hand with a chance to drag them back in the space of like a 4-minute period. And every time he's basically done it, and either, like on one occasion, he threw the interception instead of throwing the game-winning touchdown. Another occasion, game-winning touchdown in overtime. But on every occasion, he's basically come some way towards erasing the lead entirely. And in 2 of the 3, he's managed to bring them all the way back and actually execute the win. It's been just it's amazing that the 3 games have all followed almost identical scripts.
Man, I don't even know where to start with this one.
I need to find the chart. I'm trying to find here we go. It's exactly the way, I think all 3 of these charts for these games must look exactly the same. But this is like, it's like 50-50 to begin the game, and then it's a steady climb up towards like a flat line of Green Bay having like a 90% chance to win the game for like a half. And then it's just craters in like a 5-minute period where Caleb Williams goes to town and does, like on his own, effectively erases the game.
Let's start from the beginning and work through it instead of working backwards for this one. Because I want to spend some time on Caleb Williams and what we saw in the second half. I didn't fully appreciate it until I went back and saw some of the stuff that he did. So I want to fully appreciate Caleb Williams. But it starts out, the Packers score 3 touchdowns on 3 drives. And another one of the failed Ben Johnson's going for all the fourth downs. They're all failing. You got one, and then they one to sustain a drive, and then later, turnover on downs on that same drive. They were 1 for 5 on their first 5 fourth downs. And the Packers are just dominating. Moving the ball. Jordan Love looked sharp coming off of his injury. I think in total, high level looking at this game, Romeo Doubs had a huge game. Matthew Golden had some huge plays, especially in the second half. Jaden Reed, there's your win probability. The higher it goes, the more it's the Packers. The lower it goes, it's the Bears. I mean, it's the Packers.
What was the first week they played? Because the second one is the same as well.
The first week was week 16.
Week 16.
I'm sorry,
is
15,
the one that looks
17.
The same. No, 16 was the last one, second one.
Oh, was it? Oh, 14 and 16.
14. Then. So the week 14 one looks... Okay, that one looks different. It's slightly – that one's just mostly Green Bay, but doesn't quite go the same way.
To the person that just texted me, I will not answer that question on air. So there's that.
Who's texting you?
Doesn't matter. It's just a question I can't answer on air.
Okay.
So where were we?
Unfortunately, the 3 charts can't look the same because in one of them the teams are different in terms of home and away, so it's upside down. I need to flip
so
it.
it's not exactly
I
the
need
same.
to get into Photoshop and flip it to make it look similar.
It's like flipping Tua to a righty.
Yeah, but they're almost the same. Like the last two rather, are basically the same chart, and then the third one is slightly different.
So anyway, the Packers are moving it. They're cooking, dude. It felt like they've got all their playmakers. I mean, there was a point in this game where I was thinking, we were asking about where's wide receiver 1 for the Packers, and there's definitely been points this year where Christian Watson felt like the biggest impact player for this offense. But in this one, I was like, they've got Dobbs, they have Golden, they have Jaden Reed, they have Christian Watson. It's all going to work. Josh Jacobs was healthy and ran the ball well in the first half at least. Felt like they had everything that they needed. Jordan Love's sharp, shooting his fadeaways, throwing the ball outside the numbers, doing his thing, and they were moving it.
They were. They looked great in the first half. I mean, Green Bay looked really, really good. And really the Chicago, the game started the way it went on for most of the game for the Bears. They had an 8-minute, 15-play opening drive or something in which they got 3 points.
Right.
And that was kind of the story of most of their game, is that anytime they executed any kind of drive, they got to the red zone, they couldn't convert, and they had to settle for 3. But that was and meanwhile, Green Bay was out immediately just marching down the field, scoring, putting up points. Bears couldn't stop them. And you're like, man, this is getting kind of brutal. T.J. Edwards hurts his leg, goes off with an air cast, looked pretty bad in a really bizarre way. Did you see how it happened?
Who's that?
T.J. Edwards.
Oh, Edwards. No, I didn't see the actual play.
He was just kind of like in coverage, doing the standard spot drop type of deal. And as I think it was Christian Watson was running past him, his running pass just kind of flipped, just kind of caught the bottom of his ankle, his left leg sticking out. It just kind of clipped it, and it just looked like it snapped. It was bizarre.
Freak. I mean, I don't like expected injuries.
Right.
But the freak ones, it's then I'm like, how does this not happen more often?
That's the thing. The number of ways you see guys break themselves in football games, and you're like, how do people not just collapse doing routine stuff in life?
Right.
If that can happen to you and a guy just clips your leg and it snaps in half and you're air casted out of the building, particularly how do you not break multiple bones a week just by existing and accidentally ripping your arm off on a couch or something? It's bizarre. So you got Green Bay putting up points, you got the Bears struggling and having to settle for field goals, you got T.J. Edwards going down and important players on defense being lost, and this is kind of getting ugly for the Bears. I
want to discuss the 4th downs for the Bears because I was picturing it, Sam. Do you remember when Brandon Staley started? He had games where he just went for every 4th down.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even a pure analytical play, I don't think, right? At the time, we were like, oh, yeah, he's bold. He's 4th downs. He
was way more aggressive.
But he was
than the numbers.
Over-the-top aggressive. And then Dan Campbell has maybe taken a few, he gets a penalty on a 2-point conversion. The 2-point conversion's at the 15. He's like, no, we're still going for 2, he was a little too aggressive. He was a little bit much, even though I'm all in on Dan Campbell and his aggressiveness. That's what Ben Johnson felt like. And I'm just picturing, man. I mean, they are losing by multiple scores to the Packers. And everybody's already right in this thing. Ben Johnson, he's cracking under the pressure. He's trying too hard. He doesn't trust his defense. Maybe that was true. I don't know. But they get the first 4th down that they go for. 4th and 2 on their own 38. They get it. I think, or maybe it was the second one. But then they don't get the second one on that same drive. It's 4th and 6. A little miscommunication between Caleb Williams and Luther Burden. It gets intercepted by Carrington Valentine, who should have dropped it on purpose because it was 4th down. That was a 27-yard mistake by Valentine on that play. And so that 4th down, for the 4th down.
Not even one where, sometimes you see them catch it because they've got room to run. He had to go to ground.
He's going to the ground, right? Yeah. You just knock it down. Just knock it down. But again, that's that wasn't a big deal as far as the game flow goes, but you'd rather convert that. They have a 4th and 5. This is the one, second quarter, 4th and 5, on their own 32. 4th and 5 on their own 32. And it's only, it's only 14-3 at the time. So as much as we're saying Green Bay is dominating, they've been handed a couple short fields here, right? 4th and 5 on their own 32. I think Caleb Williams has Luther Burden open on a drag route. He's open. Ball gets batted at the line of scrimmage by Edgerrin Cooper, blitzing. That felt pretty deflating for the Bears. I mean, they were showing sad shots of the stadium and Bears fans. I mean, this is when it started to really feel deflating. The Twitter sphere's going nuts. Ben Johnson's losing his mind. 4th and 5 on his own 32. And look, I always say this. There's some truth to this, right? When you fail on the aggressive 4th down decision, the win probability, it drops quite a bit, right?
Yeah.
So before, when you make this decision, it's like we're trying to increase our win probability because if we keep the ball, it's better for us. When you fail, it hurts quite a bit. And the Packers took advantage, right? So they score on a 32-yard drive. And so that's how they got to 21-3, the failed 4th downs. And it doesn't end, man. Like they had the 4th and 1 where it's intercepted in the end zone. Again, it didn't. I mean, that's actually a good interception. It gets you to the 20. Oh, no, he ran it out. Sorry. But another 4th and 1 from the 6, right? You gave up a field goal, but you keep going for it. So they just keep failing. And so all of their 4th downs, it's either you gave up a field goal in a couple cases or you gave short fields. Or when you finally get moving the ball, it's like 4th and 19 and you got to kick a field goal. Everything was going wrong for the Bears for the first 3 quarters, especially on 4th downs.
Yeah, it really was. This game it looked like it was getting away from them completely. They were in, I think, real trouble and had been settling for all these field goals. But then, again, like Caleb Williams, for every one of these games, particularly against Green Bay, he's done it in other games as well, but every one of these games, it's almost like there's some similarities for him and Bryce Young, which is once you force them into a certain way of playing, they just become completely, like, significantly more dangerous, dynamic, and difficult to stop players. Caleb Williams, once you force him into this, we now need you to do crazy things because we've got to get points in a hurry. There's not much, we're abandoning the run game. It's got to be all you all the time. Once you force him into that situation, he turns back into like USC Caleb Williams, where he's just impossible to stop. You can't corral him in the pocket. You can't keep him away. You can't chase him down. He's too fast. You can be you can flush him out of the pocket to the wrong side and have a guy like falling around his ankles, and he can still throw past 30 yards on a rope to a receiver over a couple of defenders. You're like, that's literally undefendable. Like, you cannot do any better on defense than that. And he's still able to make those plays. And every time he's able to just erase these leads that look insurmountable.
I just love watching. I love the fact that they're in so many close games and the ball's in Caleb Williams' hands. And he hasn't always come through, right? I mean, more often than not, he has, Bengals game and Commanders game and the second Packers game. Then there's, a few times they've fallen short, including they make the 16-point comeback in Week 18 against the Lions. 2 touchdowns, 2 extra points, two two-point conversions. That's a great comeback, and then they just fall short on the next drive. But I just love watching him with the game on the line because he's becoming, and we knew he was capable of this coming out of USC as the number 1 overall pick, but he's becoming must-see TV, must-watch. You don't know what he's going to pull out, right? You just don't know what kind of plays he's gonna make. The 20 when it was 27-16 with 5:37 left, I saw a lot of people showing this one, the best throw of the game. Rolling to his left, it's 4th and 8, and he just drops it over 3 Packers right to Rome Odunze to keep the drive, to keep the game alive. You're down 11, and so the Bears, after all their 4th down failures, and some of them were 4th and 1s and 4th and 5s, and you get this 4th and 8, roll to your left, drop it just perfectly over everybody to Rome Odunze to keep the game alive. After he'd already he'd made throws like this already, and he makes another one later. Just unbelievable, though, man, to watch that. So, look, I know we can go back and take this overarching view of Caleb Williams, and I will still say, man, if he starts hitting a few more gimmies, hitting a few more, schemed up plays, hitting a few more just open throws, a little more consistent, and you add in what he's doing right now at the end of games, that's special.
Yeah.
Right? This is still special at the end of a game, what he's doing, but if you start to put it all together, play 4 quarters of full action, then he has a chance to be in that top tier.
It's he's such a bizarre player right now because the special is absolutely insane. I mean, the stuff that he's doing late in this game, the absolute miracle plays, the 4th and 8 when he's running to his left with a guy around his ankles, lobbing it 30 yards over 2 guys, hitting his receiver in the hands. I mean, that, you hear this all the time. Oh, that's a play only a couple of quarterbacks can make. I mean, that genuinely, I don't know how many quarterbacks can make that play in the NFL, but it's a very small number. I mean,
that was the play. I mean, that was the play of the game.
Utterly ridiculous. And he's able to make several of those plays. Like in this game, what did you say he had per PFF? Like 7 big-time throws or something insane?
PFF had him with 7 big-time throws, 6 in the second half, 4 in the fourth quarter.
And that's a huge number.
And one, I mean, again, like we've been trained to like remember these plays that don't mean anything. But like when we go back through a game, sometimes you still forget them. One of them's coming right out of the 2-minute warning, down 3, and it gets dropped.
Yeah.
He's, again, rolling to his right, hits a scramble drill right on DJ Moore's hands. It's probably a 30, 35-yarder that he drops, and they still overcame that, right?
Well, because the next play, he then goes and makes another ridiculous play where he's flushed out to the right and finds the guy this time.
It is.
Or not this time, but finds the guy again.
He pulled out. I mean, the next one was the pump screen to DJ Moore, which, by the way, is just a great play call by Ben Johnson and the Bears. They pump the screen. DJ Moore's open down the sideline. Still a long throw, but I'm all for that. That should be like once a game for every NFL team where you fake the bubble, fake the screen, whatever it might be. I saw a lot of people also complimenting the design there. If you go back and watch that play, so this ended up being the game winner. DJ Moore down the sideline, but they had Darnell Wright in as the tight end there, right? And he's pulling out on the screen. I saw our friend JT O'Sullivan. Someone else pointed out just like it was Marshall Newhouse, former NFL offensive lineman who does some media now and everything. We've talked to Marshall a lot through the years. Great guy. Both highlighting when you put the unbalanced line, Darnell Wright, put him out in space. Great design to fake the screen, get everybody's eyes up there. By the way, the Shanahan call had elements of this on the play that we'll talk about in a little bit. Just a great call with under 2 minutes left for the game-winning touchdown.
Yeah, it was. It was a great call. I mean, I think you've got to be incredibly impressed by what Caleb Williams was able to do. The weird thing is you also have to contrast that with the fact that he did only complete 50% of his passes in the game and that there were a couple of mistakes in there that were significant. And it's like a guy capable of turning that on in the fourth quarter in particular and being as insane as he was. It's like, why can we not up – like 50% is an awful completion percentage in today's NFL. And even if you say, okay, not all those incompletions were on him, you mentioned a DJ Moore drop, like it's not like every single incompletion was his fault. But there's so much meat on the bone.
Adjusted, which is still below average.
Bad.
For instance, Jordan Love was at just over 50% completions, but he was at 68 adjusted, which is a lot more closer to league average.
So like there's so much meat on the bone if he just ups the efficiency and the down to down, hitting of these passes. And then if he's able to do that and keep the fourth quarter craziness, I mean, then you have genuine special.
Yeah. So, I mean, look, the Bears should be excited because they're the number 2 seed. They're hosting the Rams next week, and they're still playing, right? I just think that there's even more to be optimistic about. I know football doesn't always work this way, right? I mean, the Lions, I think, are still going to be very much in the mix. I think that it's still one of the tougher divisions. But the Bears with Caleb Williams heading into year 3 next year with their young playmakers, and we'll be talking a lot in this offseason, man, if he just – it's not even a completion percentage thing. It's just don't miss as many throws. Just make a few more plays on schedule and on time because we're seeing what he's capable of, in crunch time when you unleash him. And he showed kernels of that last year, right? Elements of late in the game against a Minnesota defense, late in the game, leading comebacks. And this year he's doing it more often. And you have Ben Johnson dialing it up. And you've just got more opportunities to just hit some open throws and do some special stuff. So that is producer Will. I have not complimented you. I have not congratulated you, I should say. Congratulations to the Hagel family. Very excited for the Bears. And Will reminds us it's the 7th fourth quarter comeback for the Bears this year. 7 fourth quarter comebacks. The magic of the Chicago Bears. Unbelievable. What else? So, and after all that, the Bears get within a score. Matthew Golden makes an incredible play.
Yeah, so you got
working backwards here.
Green Bay. It's weird because contrasting with Chicago going nuts in the fourth quarter, like Green Bay did not score in the third quarter at all, right? So they go from winning the game comfortably, having it completely in hand, to suddenly you just go nowhere in the third quarter, and then the fourth quarter they did nothing until all of a sudden Chicago have made it a game, and then they did answer. It was like, okay, they're in real trouble now. Like this game's. The Bears are in the ascendancy. Caleb Williams is doing his thing again. It's happening again. We've already seen this twice already, Green Bay against Chicago. It's going to happen again. And then suddenly they snap out of it. They have one really nice, cool, calm, and collected drive and score again. You get Matthew Golden suddenly he's alive again. The guy who's had one of the worst rookie wide receiver seasons in the history of football suddenly shows up and starts making a couple of big plays for Green Bay in this game, gets their touchdown. And then it becomes this game from where Green Bay had stopped scoring and Chicago did all the scoring to suddenly it's bouncing back and forth for the last couple of minutes. And it's just chaos at this point.
Josh Dubow has responded to your request for the 3 win probabilities that I see you've been live tweeting rather than listening to my analysis. Did you see his response, though?
No.
Josh Dubow, AP. We're going to get Josh officially on the show and we get out to the Super Bowl. Josh, bring your 50 best stats. We'll just have him read stats. Josh, bring your 50 best stats to
Start
the table.
now.
Start now.
Start
a weeks. Get a spreadsheet going. Your 50 favorite stats of the year. And we'll just have you rattle them off. Just read them. We'll do a 20-minute segment where you just read every stat. We'll do that at the Super Bowl, and we see you at Media Row. Josh Dubow, AP, favorite stat of the year. Offensive plays run with the lead in 3 Bears-Packers games this season. Packers, 106. Bears, 0.
Yeah.
And the Bears have won 2 of the 3 games.
Yeah, I mean, the way I was summing it up, which I think is not necessarily inaccurate based off those 3 win probability graphs, is that, I mean, how deep into overtime did that game go? How many minutes?
The second one? The second game?
The only one that went overtime.
The one,
right?
yeah. I mean, it wasn't. Oh, because the Packers ran a few plays.
Yeah.
They got stopped on fourth down, and then next
5 minutes of overtime or whatever.
Yeah, not many plays.
So they've played 185 minutes of football this year between the 3 of them, and I think Green Bay has been the better team for 170 of those minutes. Yeah, it's 15 minutes out of 185. The Bears have been better, and somehow they've won 2 of the 3 games. It's bizarre. You see all the time, there's going to be the third matchup of a bunch of teams, I think, this year. You rarely see all 3 of them go in the same pattern, particularly not with different results at the end. Usually it's, one team wins one handily, the other team wins another one handily, or it bounces back and forth, or they're just both very close, even the whole way. I can't think of a scenario where the teams have played 3 times, all 3 games have looked the same, and yet they've had 2 and 1 with 3 different, overtime, a win, and then a win.
The normal way of analyzing that is there's no way this can sustain. If the Packers and Bears played a 4th game, of course the Packers would win, right? But they don't get to.
Right.
So the analyst in me would say, okay, at some point this Bears magic has to run out, right? But I don't want to be I don't want to do that. I want to have fun and enjoy this. I want to enjoy it. And just say, look, they are a fun team to watch, and they have continued to pull it out. But look, the next piece is however, I don't know how you weigh the human element of they're down 21-3, scored 25 points in the fourth quarter. If they're down against the Rams, 2 scores, 3 scores, they're going to sit there and say, Caleb's done this before. We've done this before.
Yeah, and look, I don't think that there's nothing to it. It's not one of these things where, this is just smoke and mirrors and witchcraft and this is nothing. That doesn't mean that doesn't mean to say you can rely on this every single week and it's a way you can go, have the best record in the NFL, go all the way and win a Super Bowl playing this way. But I do think that this is a real thing, that Caleb Williams, because of the way he plays the game, because of the way he's great, his skill set, his peak attributes, lend themselves to playing this brand of football. So if they're even within touching distance in the fourth quarter, I do think that this is a real repeatable thing that he's able to do. To just rock up there, score 2 touchdown drives in 4 minutes, erase a 16-point lead the way he did to Detroit, a couple of weeks ago, like it's nothing. Because that, like, these are the situations that he just plays like this, where time is no longer a factor. We're not going to run the ball. You're going to have the ball in your hands every single play. If you need to, run around, find some time, get away from people, extend the play, and then fire a ridiculous pass running to your left off 1 foot. Like, this is how he's good. And so I do think it's a repeatable skill.
And it doesn't mean the comeback's going to work every time, but there are certain quarterbacks who...
Which you've seen just within this series.
Right. And there are certain quarterbacks, though, who will... Because you have to increase you have to try more stuff. And he's more than willing to try some stuff in crunch time and then he's capable, has the arm talent to make special throws. High level. So just any other credit you want to throw the Bears' way. The Bears they're creeping toward paying the Bills territory. Lions fans still show up, but the Bears fans, they've always been good to us too. 2018, they were good. I mean, when they're good, Bears fans, they enjoy it. And so I hope that they're all enjoying it. And anything else nice you want to say about the Bears?
Colston Loveland was pretty spectacular again. They've gone away a little bit from Luther Burden the last couple of weeks, but it's been replaced by going to Colston Loveland all the time. So again, those two rookies have been pretty spectacular for them. Their first two picks, right? Those guys both look like they're going to be huge impact players. It's difficult. I'm trying to sort of be a fair, balanced analysis of Caleb Williams, whilst also acknowledging just how utterly insane and amazing that fourth quarter performance was. Like, the important part for the Bears fans, forget the negatives as a negative. Don't take it as a criticism. Take it as this is all this extra room to be good you've got.
Oh, yeah. That's how I'm viewing it. Yeah.
He's leaving so much meat on the bone right now that if he's able to just improve that performance a little bit in the next couple of games, there's so much room to be amazing. Like, Caleb Williams in the fourth quarter in this game was utterly ridiculous. Like, I'd love to see his PFF grade broken down by quarter. It must be absolutely nuts in the fourth quarter.
Incredible finish for Caleb Williams. We should mention Colston Loveland was fantastic, as you mentioned. You mentioned the T.J. Edwards injury. Yeah. Ozzie Trapillo, the rookie, played left tackle. Remember, they've had this revolving door at left tackle this year. He also, a patellar tendon or something? He's out for the season, though.
Right.
He came up injured in this game as well, so something to keep an eye on.
Injuries for both teams in this game were significant. I mean, the Packers' offensive line was getting banged up as well. Obviously, they were already missing two of their best players in Micah Parsons and Tucker Kraft, which is a factor in them, having a ceiling, I think, this season. And unfortunately, probably won't be remembered when too many people start talking about, how to evaluate the Packers, how to analyze Matt LaFleur and all those kinds of things. But it's clearly a factor in this game.
And we got to talk LaFleur and the Packers and what that means.
We also have to talk. The one thing we didn't mention really on the instant reaction thing is missed kicks. Brandon McManus.
Oh yeah, I completely forgot. I mean, the Packers had a kick to go up 6,
and he also missed the extra point.
Yeah,
right. Like, he had multiple kicks in this game to miss, which were huge. I mean, they ended up being a huge factor based off the score.
So those things were huge. So missed kicks. They could not run the ball. Was it Mina? I think put it out. There was only one carry for Josh Jacobs over 1 yard.
Yeah.
In the second half.
Went
seven carries for 6 yards. So the Bears defense, this is why, like, when you're analyzing the Bears, you could say, well, the defense, if they don't force turnovers, they're giving up yards like crazy.
Right.
They're getting picked apart in the pass game. They've been run all over in a lot of games this year. And Caleb Williams is inconsistent and just turns it on at the end. And you can't really bottle that up and do that every week, right? There's definitely a path to only analyze them through that lens. But you got to give the defense credit for stepping up. In addition to, that it all worked together. Defense stepping up, made a lot of big stops in the second half. The Packers offense did nothing for 3 or 4 drives in a row. And then that allowed the ability of, Caleb Williams to put the special plays together that he needed to. Even after all that, they still had the Matthew Golden play to get up 2 scores again, and I thought that was it. It wasn't. Is Matt LaFleur on the hot seat now? The hot seat meaning he's up for contract, right? So it's more of a debate. What are they going to pay him? Do they want to pay him?
Yeah.
And it's a strange time because Kevin Stefanski, 2-time Coach of the Year, pretty good track record. John Harbaugh, 18-year, pretty good track record, Super Bowl champion.
Very good.
Those guys are available now.
Yes.
And Matt LaFleur, I mean, would Tennessee love to have him? with Cam Ward. Like, there's a lot of people that would love to have Matt LaFleur. So you've got these winning coaches available. Stefanski doesn't have a winning record, but guys that have won in the past available right now.
And won in Cleveland.
In Cleveland, right? It's all relative here, right? He brought the Browns to their first, to just bring them to the playoffs and get them a playoff win is huge given their history.
Yeah, look, we talked about, I mean, this team almost didn't score at all in the second half of this game. Like, they didn't score in the third quarter. They only scored the one touchdown in the fourth quarter, plus they missed all these kicks. I mean, there's a degree to which that's on Matt LaFleur as the offensive play caller and offensive mind there. And this is not the first time that they have not held up their end in some of these games. But again, it's like there's a guy that was tweeting me earlier whose name is whose Twitter handle is something like fire, like LaFleur sucks, fire LaFleur, something ridiculous like that. And it's like, this guy literally has the second best record in the NFL in regular season wins since he got that job. The only guy with a better record is Andy Reid, who is helming the current dynasty team, right? With Patrick Mahomes, one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, and is, multiple Super Bowl wins deep into this thing, right? That's the only guy with a better record than Matt LaFleur since he took that job. And you're like, so, does that mean that Matt LaFleur is perfect? Obviously not. But does that mean that you should probably not be firing him or trying to move on from him or looking for another coach? I would argue yes. Like, if you're telling me that's the starting point here, one guy has a better record than this guy since we gave him this job, and he's the guy with Patrick Mahomes and multiple Super Bowl rings, right? Immediately, I'm like, so we're rehiring him, correct?
Does Sirianni have a better record?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Because, he's on the
regular season. Now, he had a playoff win, sure.
Because he's on the hot seat, too. Like, everybody with these great records is all on the hot seat.
Like, if that's your starting point, like, the next question should be, then I'm going to need a really good reason to fire him or not renew his contract, right? And I don't really see that there is one.
Yeah. It's
tough. Again, that's not to say he's perfect, but it's to say clearly the good outweighs the bad.
I've defended Matt LaFleur quite a bit because in that record that he's had, did he have Aaron Rodgers for 4 years? 3 years? 19, 20? Yeah, he had 4 years. 4 years of Rodgers. But the years that he had with Rodgers are the best Rodgers years that he's had since 2016. His best years, statistically and record-wise.
Yes.
Right? Other than the last year he was there in 22. Rodgers has not played great since then, and they made the right move to go to Jordan Love. Jordan Love was a project and now looks like a very good NFL quarterback. I know Jordan Love is now subject, whether it's in the chat or everywhere else, he's subject to the normal discourse.
Joker.
If you watch him throw for throw, you might think he's good, and then you watch him and see some of the results, and they fall short, and it's the discourse of a mid-tier quarterback, but I think he's a top 8 quarterback in the NFL. Incredible development from LaFleur, and incredible development of Malik Willis. I just keep repeating those three things. Now, that's not the total job, right?
No, but that's
they didn't have any timeouts, and there's game management. There's these heartbreaking losses. There's this, did they underachieve? That's the thing that's keeping me still with LaFleur.
Yes.
I don't think the only time I thought they were a Super Bowl team is when their defense was lights out with Micah Parsons. Yeah. And I thought they could win the Super Bowl. Right. At no point over the last 3 years did I think the Packers are a Super Bowl team in waiting and they're just underachieving. I thought they were a young team on the ascent. They sneak a playoff win or two. Great. So maybe they have to do it by next year, but at this point they've just kind of been what they are, I think.
So this is the thing. If you just knew that LaFleur had the second best record in the NFL to Andy Reid since he got the job, I think that would be reason enough to keep him. If you were then also told that within that period of time, he's also fairly directly been attributed to getting high-end quarterback development out of 3 separate and completely different quarterbacks, Rodgers, Malik Willis, and Jordan Love, that would also be an argument to keep him, right? Put those two things together, and it's mind-blowing to me that it's even a question that you would move in a different direction. And then, he and the Packers will be seen as, well, this is just the same as last year. This is the glass ceiling that they've hit. You're but they were different with the one giant move they made to go get Micah Parsons, and then Micah Parsons got injured for the season, and he's not there anymore. So, of course, they went backwards. And it's at that point, again, when you're evaluating coach versus personnel, GM, all those kinds of things, like this has been the youngest roster in the NFL for like 3 or 4 straight years, right? And so the youngest roster in the NFL is not supposed to be the best team in the NFL, right? They're supposed to be a work in progress, a developmental thing, and eventually they may become the best team in the NFL. But he's had the youngest roster in the NFL competing for at least postseason appearances, if not, a deep run into the playoffs, year on year on year, and has developed quarterbacks. And then this year, it did look different with the one elite established superstar they brought in who then got hurt. They lost 2 of their best 4 players midway through this season, and so that has to be a factor. Again, I'm not saying he's perfect. He's made some mistakes. There are things to criticize him for. That's the case for like every head coach in NFL now and NFL history. I cannot construct a sound argument for not retaining him.
I see the chat coming up with, well, there's this coach got fired with a winning record, and that coach, there's precedent for it. I get it. The biggest one was Marty Schottenheimer.
Yes.
Getting fired after being 14-2 and
right.
the number 1 seed, but they disappointed in the playoffs. Now, Marty had a really long NFL career where it's like, this guy just can't win the big one. I mean, the discourse, the same thing's happening in college. Like Dan Lanning at Oregon, they just got waxed, and it's like, Dan Lanning's the next James Franklin who just can't win the big one. It's like, the dude's had 3 years at Oregon. Like, it's only one team wins every year. And we've had the same discourse with quarterbacks. I remember when Tua lost, the Dolphins lost in Kansas City. And everybody's like, Tua's just mid, he'll never win anything. And there might be some truth to that, right? But every time a quarterback, like I'm sure there were those Trevor Lawrence takes were out there. Game-ending interception, this guy's never going to win anything. Like only one team's going to win. You don't fire everybody. You don't just move on from everybody who didn't win. There'd be a lot of turnover in this league. Yeah,
this is the thing. When patterns like this start to emerge, you need to actually look at the patterns and say, is this a real indication of a problem or a characteristic of this team, quarterback, person, coach, whatever, or is this just variance? Is this just noise based off the fact that, as you say, one team every year wins, right? And for the last 25 years, it's been either the Patriots or the Chiefs, effectively, right? So by definition, that is skewing the rest of the NFL, who then has to look at these failed seasons and evaluate, do we suck, or are we just happening to exist at the same time as Tom Brady?
And by the way, in between those are outliers like Eli Manning and Joe Flacco and Nick Foles, and those are your quarterbacks.
And so you can ask the flip side of the question with those guys, right? Is this guy actually amazing, or did he just happen to put together 2 amazing runs, Like Peyton Manning went from fraud to like justified all-time great with his second Super Bowl.
He was always all-time great, but he's underachieving until he had the second Super Bowl.
But he was like
he got
kind
dragged.
of a fraud. Yeah. Second Super Bowl, it's like, okay, it's all intact now. It's fine. We don't have to talk about that ever again. But up until that point, it was like, is Peyton Manning actually
took his
really
defense going on elite runs twice.
Is he even that good? Yeah. Is Peyton Manning really good, or is he just kind of a fraud? Right.
That's where we are.
So this is the thing. I think there are times in history where some of these things have been, look, that is a legitimate issue that this team had, and they were right, justified, or whatever to go in a different direction. I don't think you can make that argument with Matt LaFleur because, as we said, which year? Point me to the year that they were supposed to be better than they actually were, and where he obviously underachieved based off what he had. Right? That's not what happened. It's like the Josh Allen thing. This is the first year where Josh Allen has a comeback playoff win on the road or whatever. It's like, right, but how many, he also had the Chiefs game where he scored with 13 seconds left on the clock and then his defense shat itself. That's not, Josh Allen didn't become a different player because he finally got the validation that takes an O off the stat sheet.
Segue time. We're going to that game. I need your Ryan Clark reaction.
Oh, God.
Anything else on Bears-Packers, though?
No, just don't fire LaFleur. He's a very good head coach. Re-sign him to a new contract and shut up.
I joked that we won't go 3 hours.
Yeah, well, that was silly.
We will. Sunday's games. Buffalo Bills 27, Jacksonville Jaguars 24. Bills moving on to go to Denver. Josh Allen with the game-winning touchdown push rush.
The narrative game.
We didn't get to respond to Ryan Clark's comments before this game.
Would have been a good shouty show segment.
Would have been a really good shouty show segment. Ryan Clark basically claims no matter what happens, if the Bills lose, it's all Josh Allen's fault.
Yeah, pretty
Even
much.
if he, for instance, went 28 of 35 for 273, 3 touchdowns, doesn't matter. The go-ahead touchdown, had his defense blown the final drive there, his fault.
It would have been his fault. Right,
Anyway.
It would have been on him. It was a clip that was put out by ESPN.
We don't need to touch on it anymore. We don't really need to.
Well, no, we do. Okay. And it was a clip where, they put out the clip, they put out the head or the caption. And it was like the caption was so dumb that I just assumed that it was, because everybody kind of does this, right? You put out, it's clickbaity. The caption was so bad that I was like, I assume that that's kind of misrepresenting the 90-second argument that he's making in this video clip that's probably smarter and more nuanced than that. And then I got around to watching it later when it came across my timeline again. And it turns out that no, the point he was making was genuinely as stupid as the caption made it out to be, including literally saying, I don't care if his receivers drop passes. It's on Josh Allen. And you're like, he's supposed to throw it to himself? How does that work? So he was prejudging the game that says no matter what happens in the game, if Josh Allen does not win, it's on him. You're like, that is an objectively idiotic take. Absolutely stupid. Dumb ass idiocy as a take. It's mind-blowingly stupid. And there, people out there going, wow, you wouldn't say this about... It's just as a principle, prejudging a game like that is stupid. Without seeing what happens, how could you possibly say whose fault it is? It's utterly ridiculous. Anyway, it turned out late in the game, Tre'Davious White made a play so Josh Allen can get credit from Ryan Clark.
Saved Josh Allen's legacy in this game.
If Tre'Davious White didn't make a play and Trevor Lawrence ends up winning the game, well, then that's Josh Allen's fault.
I can't remember if I said it on the show. I thought this was a great back-and-forth game. I thought Trevor Lawrence he had the early interception. There's a couple what-ifs in there, I think, for the Jags. But they fought hard, and they had the lead. They had the lead right into the end, right?
Their defense was impressive. For a game that ends up with 27 points, starting to look the numbers are pretty impressive as well. They had 350 or whatever yards. It doesn't look like a good performance statistically from the Jags defense, but they had Josh Allen in literal hurt for most of that game.
I thought that the winner of this game had a chance to be the AFC representative. And so either way, we'll see what happens. But Buffalo has a chance to go on that run. I thought the Jags had a chance, given what they did in Denver. They would have had to go to New England next week. I don't know if that's a good matchup for them. I don't know if they would have necessarily won that. But I think this is a great. I loved this game going in. It comes right down to the wire. Had the same thing. Fourth quarter lead changes. I thought Lawrence started out a little slow. He's got the bad misread of an interception, just a pure misread. Romo was calling it disguise, coverage. But it was
No, the disguise was we're running zone coverage, and you couldn't know that from the snap.
It was kind of single high to too high, but it's he just threw it right to the Tampa linebacker.
Drop zone.
Yeah, it wasn't great. So bad misread early. By the way, the final interception's not – tipped passes like that are not on the quarterback, so to speak. That's – Tre'Davious White makes a great play. The ball goes up instead of down, right? It's not Trevor Lawrence, you just threw the ball right to a linebacker to finish the game. This was not his first
great play
interception. But the 4th and 2. So it was a bad week for fourth downs working. It was a bad week for converting fourth downs. As I always say, the analytics says if you're going to go for it on fourth down, you got to make it.
You do.
You got to make it.
Otherwise, you'll look silly.
So it's 4th and 2. They didn't take the points. Trevor Lawrence keeps it, dives for it. Knee goes down a little early. They review it. He's short. They originally called it a first down. He's short. And again, the benefit of the failure, right? You're either playing for 6, you get the 6 points instead of 3, 7 instead of 3, and you get the field position. And then the Bills answer with a 93-yard drive coming out of that. That was one of the turning points in the game. Now, of course, the Jags took the lead. It wasn't like the game was over. But when you go 92 yards is what it was. That was a huge point in the game.
In which Allen was hurt twice in that drive.
And Allen was just banged up this entire game early on. So he got checked for a concussion, which we shouldn't, that doesn't mean, so technically he just wasn't hurt, but he got hit in the head enough.
He was hurt enough that someone had to look at him.
Enough that someone had to check him for a concussion. He hits his hand on a helmet, on a throw.
And then gets his knee twisted up. Ugly.
Knee really twisted up on his
touchdown. Yeah.
So that's all in the first half. right? First 3 or 4 drives, Allen is taking an absolute beating.
Yep.
And made me, continue to theorize just how him and Mahomes and Lamar and some of those guys are just going to – how are they going to develop? It's not for this show, but the next 8 to 10 years are going to be fascinating because we've never had the best quarterbacks in the league rely on their legs that much. And now there's nuance to this. That I'm not saying they can't win from the pocket. They can all win from the pocket. But they all use their legs so much. That's what makes them special. That will that run out? Like Cam Newton was an unstoppable force until he wasn't. Until he was hurt. And Josh Allen plays like that is the best comp for playing style is Cam. Just got to keep an eye on it. Because we keep calling Josh Allen's a cyborg. He's a cyborg. He does this. And maybe he's incredible recovery. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what it is because Allen always recovers from these things. And a guy like Anthony Richardson, like you push him down and it's like, oh, my shoulder. Oh, my knee. Like he's always hurt. Like players are different. Allen has survived to this point. It's just something to keep an eye on. Not this week, 8 to 10 years, it's going to just be an interesting development here. But
let's put a pin in it.
Allen to it. Old takes exposed. Come back to it.
8 to 10 years.
But you got Mahomes has the ACL, and Lamar played hurt this year, and Allen's played through injury this year. And I think Allen's running was maybe a tick below where it's been in the past. He's still just capable of taking over in any which way, whether it's flicking the ball 40 yards against the blitz, whether it's the run, whether it's having his teammates pick him up for 10 yards. We could do whatever it takes. By the way, that final game-winning touchdown, the Jags were letting them score, which was smart. If we want to start with that, the Bills.
I would have found it very funny if the Bills had countered Jacksonville trying to let them score with them not wanting to score. And
they should have.
We just had 22 people standing there until someone blew a
whistle. That would have run the clock out. So the Bills had first and 10, first and goal from the 1, a little over a minute. Mm-hmm. And the Patriots did this earlier in the year, I think at the end of the half, right? They took a knee and then scored against Tampa. It almost backfired because it took them till 4th down. But they did that, and it stole a possession. It worked. Yeah. And I thought the Bills were going to do that, right? In this game where there was already 4 fourth-quarter lead changes. Yeah. I thought they were going to take a knee and then just get the clock running, and then, all right, we're going to push it in.
I didn't want the knee. I wanted them to, pretend that they were going to score, and then just everyone just standing there being like,
I understand what you were rooting for.
Someone going to make a play?
I understand what you were rooting
and
for. I'm just talking about the tactical strategy.
Number one, that would have looked ridiculous, and it would have been one of those things that everyone's like, the integrity of the game's gone. We're going to change the rules in the offseason. Number two, I'm curious how long the officials would have let that happen before somebody blew a whistle and ended a play. Like, how long could 22 guys just sort of look at each other before somebody goes like, okay, somebody's giving something up. I'm just going to stop the play now. Forward progress has ended. But no, they just let him score instead.
So that was, and then it felt a little risky at the time. It didn't matter, though. Yeah. Because they got the game.
Well, they had like a minute and 4 left for Trevor Lawrence and the Jags to execute their drive.
Down 3.
Yeah.
With Cam Little.
And then, so what felt like a really big play at the time, and as it turns out, it didn't matter at all. Javon Sullivan makes an amazing tackle on the kick return. It's like, that's like a 15-yard swing.
Huge. Yeah. That is, I will say, the excitement of the kick return. I don't love.
Oh, all of a sudden you're in favor.
The credit I'll give Sam and Sam, the other, Sam and creator of the kick return, is that plays like that are fun. Like plays like that have an impact. Either a great I would say either a great return to the 50 or a great tackle that puts you at the 20. That type of thing. Those things matter. The simple basic return where you're just at the 35 and you've got this freebie of 15 yards, we can put Cam Little in there for a 65-yarder. I hate that. But when you see I will say the great tackle that puts you back at the 20. Good stuff.
It's funny. This game, in retrospect, it's like all these things that you thought were really important ended up not really being important at all because of the way the game ended. It was sort of weirdly anticlimactic in several different ways when you start counting it back. Ultimately, one play, it's like, oh, okay, well, that the potential Trevor Lawrence narrative drive ends up being nothing because his pass was okay. Tre'Davious White makes an amazing play, and suddenly that's an interception, game over. You're like, well, that's not a great way for the game to end unless you're a Buffalo fan.
It was just, I thought we were
that,
going to have
so that sort of renders
finish.
the Solomon tackle irrelevant. It sort of renders all the, farting around with the, do we go for this extra play? Do we let him score? Whatever. That's all irrelevant. The touchdown drive that Jacksonville had before where they scored, one of the most insane plays that they showed on the broadcast, but like they went with like a wildcat formation and it was a terrible snap. And Etienne left hands it out here and just snags it in. I'm like, that's not an easy play for a non-quarterback to make.
You said you were just complimenting quarterbacks for doing that all the time.
Quarterbacks, the fact that they can do that regularly is kind of nuts and doesn't get talked about enough. For a non-quarterback to be able to snag that in and then make the play is pretty crazy. That ends up not mattering at all because, all that happened at the end. There's just a bizarre erasure of an amazing set of games just because of the way it ended.
The other just key sequences, how about the end of the first half? So the end of the first half, you have Trevor Lawrence hits this big pass to Parker Washington. Yep. Who goes up and gets it. Parker has a huge game. Goes up and gets it. They are sprinting to the line to spike it. It looks like they are going to run out of time. And they run up, they spike it, and they get the snap off just under 1 second.
Allegedly.
They had to go to the 10th.
To let Cam Little take a shot, who can, of course, kick from a million yards away.
And he doinks it.
Yeah.
But the whole sequence was fascinating, right? Because the only reason why it worked, it wasn't the spike didn't happen in time. It's because the Bills were offside.
So here's my question.
And you can't the half can't end on a defensive penalty. So all the Jags needed to do they were running up and spiking it. They weren't trying to draw anybody off sides. They were running up to spike it. They were late on the spike. The spike would have ended the half.
I mean, because it was 7 seconds. They got as fast as they could. It just they wouldn't. Had the Bills not been slow to get back.
If the Bills were onside, the half's over.
Right.
But because the Bills were offside, you can't end on a defensive penalty. The snap occurred.
Yeah.
And so they had an untimed down to kick the field goal. So it looked like this is going to be huge. You just stole 3 points before the half. You got Cam Little.
Here's my question. If you can look at this frame by frame and decide whether or not the ball actually got snapped before the clock turned 0 for this instance, right? Late in the half to determine whether we're done or not. How come we can't do that every time there's a delay of game or there isn't when we're looking at these things and they give you the second? Or not the second, but the process. They explain this. Every time you pitch it to Mike Pereira or whoever it is in the booth, they go, well, you see, the way this works is the guy's looking at the clock, and then when the clock ticks to 0, you look down to the line of scrimmage and you see if he snapped the ball or not. And if he has, well, then it's okay. Even if he snapped it after the clock's ticked 0, that's just the way the process works, right?
I knew that was coming.
Unless this situation happens, and then we can pull out the HD replay and we can take it down to tenths of a second.
We got the tenths, we're good.
And we can figure out if he actually got the ball off before it hit zeros or not.
Let's get Dean on the show.
What the hell's with that?
Let's get Dean to explain it. Dean, why can't we check? Why can't we check a delay of game?
In every other circumstance, you just have to accept that's the way the process works. Except this time, where we can crawl up its ass with a super slow-mo replay.
Why can't we check forward progress instead of just keep it into the side judge's head? The line judge got it in his brain. He'll let you know.
The arbitrary, insane nature of when New York is allowed to get involved with stuff and fix things and not fix things, or what is or isn't reviewable, but you're never going to know about it, is absolutely nuts in the NFL, league-wide. Independent of how bad the officiating is or not. There's all kinds of ridiculous instances where it's like, how come we can now look at this? Urban
Meyer was undefeated against Josh Allen's Bills.
Yeah. Anyway, it didn't matter because Cam Little shanked his kick.
After all that little, you're right. Everything that was important wasn't important.
We spent 5 minutes trying to work out if Cam Little was going to get a chance to take this shot and put points on the board, and then he missed the kick anyway.
I mean, it was a good back and forth game. I mean, back and forth games aren't always points, right? It's key defensive stops and key third down stops and everything. So it's 13-10 going into the fourth quarter. It felt like the Jags offense came alive then. What I'm sensing around the league, whether it's this game had a few of them, Ben Johnson had a few of them. There's this idea quarterbacks can take over, Caleb Williams. You could take over in the fourth quarter and make some big plays. I think coordinators too and play callers are starting to take over in key situations. There are some very key play calls and design and huge plays, whether it's the pump screen that Caleb Williams threw, Josh Allen had one to take the lead in this one. Like, there were some key plays in here. But this was when I thought Trevor Lawrence started to make some nice throws. First touchdown to Parker Washington, just a beauty. First fourth quarter touchdown that got them back into it. And so that took the lead for the Jags. Parker Washington with a huge game. He was awesome, man. Again. And the fact that they've got him and Jacoby Myers and Brian Thomas Jr., like, they could spread the ball around, and it's been good. That touchdown was fantastic.
Imagine telling somebody going into the season that in their playoff game where the Jags look like one of the best teams or offenses in the NFL, Parker Washington would have 12 targets and 7 catches, and Brian Thomas Jr. would have 2 catches and 2 targets.
I would believe it because, look, I'm honest with all of our people here. I saw someone else do a little self-promotion in the Twitter sphere on Parker Washington. Like, read my scouting report. Nailed it. And I said, I don't like when people do that. I'm doing it. And I pulled out my I went back to the podcast where we did the receiver rankings, and I pulled out my sleeper list, and I put it out there. It's like my sleeper list had Puka Nacua, Parker Washington, and Xavier Hutchinson.
Yeah. Like, I'm not.
And I felt great about this. So I was like, I'm going to brag about this.
Right. I'm not saying that Parker
I'm not
Washington's
disputing your point at all.
a
I'm
bad
just telling the
player
story
or anything, but like heading into the season, Brian Thomas Jr. was supposed to become
I know. Yeah.
one of the best receivers in the NFL, and Parker Washington wasn't. And the idea that he would be the heavy volume uber target for this offense, and Brian Thomas Jr. basically gets a couple of shots, including the one of the touchdowns.
And
kind of crazy.
The Jags offense took off once they pushed him aside a little bit and just made him. It's just a fascinating discussion that we'll spend some time in the offseason because Travis Hunter's coming back. And Travis Hunter was supposed to be a wide receiver first and a corner second.
Right.
And you can make the argument now that the Jags' biggest need might be a corner over receiver with the way they just locked up Jacoby Myers long term and the way that their offense seemed to work better without the alpha receiver and just whoever it is, week after week. And this week it was Parker Washington, he's got good athleticism to go up and catch the ball, and he's really tough to tackle after the catch. Had some drop issues at points over the last couple of years, but when he's catching the ball, he's a very good player. The Jags, their offense, before we get to the Bills, there was a point where their run game was exceptional. They had like 8 carries for over 100 yards.
Yeah.
And I know the broadcast was all D-gap and whatever. It's all whatever it is. Doesn't mean they ran a million toss plays. But they did get away from the run game a little bit. They got back to it. They ran the ball really well on the Bills. Did they let the game flow get away from themselves a little bit in the middle of the game when they hit a lull scoring-wise?
The
Jags. Where they were running the ball really well, and at one point it's like they only had 8 carries, but for over 100 yards, and they'd thrown the ball like 20-something times.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't know if it matters because you're throwing the ball and you come back in chunks. The chunk plays came through the air either way.
Yeah.
So every time, it was just a good back and forth, fourth quarter. Allen has his special plays, a 40-yarder under pressure. Brandon Cooks making big plays in this one.
That play,
what'd you have?
like that's the huge one. Like he has this 40-yard play, back foot against pressure. They've blown the protection on the play, whether or not that was his fault or not, I don't know. But there's pressure there that's unblocked in his face that he can't do anything about it. He just sort of backs up, lobs the ball off his back foot over the top of it, hits a guy 40 yards downfield against coverage. That was a huge play on that drive. Like that was when Jacksonville had answered. There was that wildcat play where Etienne grabs it left-handed, looks like he saves or does save the play. They end up getting the touchdown there. And then you got 4 minutes for Josh Allen to execute a 4-minute game-winning touchdown drive, right? Can you do that? And as I said, he'd been banged up all game. He's hurt at least 3 different ways at this point. They're doing whatever they can. He hits that 40-yard play. It's a huge chunk of that field position that you need. They now have 4th and under a yard in the red zone. And they just go full rolling ball. The push play from 4th and under a yard goes for like 10 or 11 yards and almost goes into the end zone. They actually called it a touchdown, decided actually that was kind of ridiculous. It was down at the 1. But they shoved them a good 10 yards. They'd also previously shoved them like 3 yards or something.
That. You should not be able to push the ball carrier like that.
I mean, that's just funny.
I know you had fun. They picked him up and carried him. That's absurd.
Uh-huh.
They did what you would want to do.
Meanwhile, Romo's out here again. Look at Josh Allen just pumping his legs.
Oh If it was Jalen Hurts, it'd be, squat 600.
Mm-hmm. Just the power
Your
of the
squat
man.
doesn't matter if you're off the ground.
Yeah, you say that, but
Allen, guy finishes 28 for 35, had a couple drops in there as well from his receivers. His best plays, you talked about the, was it 36-yarder? But before that, when they were down 17-13, he makes a throw. They run play action, pretty good little pocket movement there. I remember on the broadcast watching, it's like, Dalton Knox, they run play action. Dalton Knox kind of open over the middle. Allen's about to get hit and just lets it go. I mean, he makes throws that take a lot of velocity look easy. And that was one of them. It was just 24 yards on a rope to Dawson Knox, down and away from the safety. And I think on the original broadcast, it's like, play action. There's a lot of space. You look at it, though, man, it's a good throw. It's a really good throw. And then the touchdown, the pump screen, again, I said, like, you just save these for crunch time. It's not even open. And it's the replay showed it to Devin Lloyd. Just barely gets, just misses getting a fingertip to it. Beautiful throw. And that was what made it 20-17 at one point. And they had a safety coming over the top, perfect timing, puts it right on. That was Kincaid, right? Was that Kincaid or Knox?
Kincaid.
That was Kincaid. And then the final one that you mentioned against the blitz.
That was after. So there was this. The whole game was a bunch of like, is this fourth and short or not? Are we giving them this or not? They changed a couple already. Lawrence had dived for it, and then they challenged it. Turned out he was short. Josh Allen had one where he slid. They then they said he actually short. Challenged Jacksonville 4th and inches. Then so that was the one where they pushed him for like 3 or 4 yards. The Bills on the push play must have averaged like 7.5 yards per carry. Like they just
every single one went for way more than a yard.
Yeah, like he didn't just get it; they shoved him like deep into the secondary.
Yes, and they wanted to ban it.
Did the Bills want to ban it?
Somebody was joking about that today. That they wanted to ban
Either way, it's pretty funny.
So I thought Allen played spectacular pretty much the whole game. Battled through the injuries, just did his thing.
My favorite part about the injuries is every couple of minutes, Jim Nantz was like, do you see anything, Tony, in Josh Allen's mechanics now with the injuries he's dealing with? And every time, Romo's like, that last throw, I thought I could see a little hitch in his giddy up there. Like, what are you talking about?
Just missed because he had just missed a throw.
He's
like, it's got to be the finger.
It's like, I think I seen something there. And then and Jim was loving it. And then every time he'd come back to it in a few minutes, like, what do you see now, Tony? Do you see any play where it's kind of lingering? Tony's like, that last one, I felt like the finger was bothering him. Like, all right, cool.
What do you see now, Tony?
And the answer is, I see nothing because I'm not even paying attention to the game. I'm just like vibing out here.
I know this is stuff legacies are made out of and everything, and if you lose, it's just the team that lost in the wild card round. Trevor Lawrence did make a comeback in the fourth quarter to take the lead.
Yeah.
Beautiful seam route to flip the field, back foot. So he had his one special throw in there.
Uh-huh.
And I thought that was when they go right to the trick play that was a little risky for a minute. And then they do a nice job, get the ball to Travis Etienne in the flat for the touchdown that takes the lead.
I think we need to expand that stat to just give them credit for fourth quarter lead changes.
There was somebody did put that out there recently, which was like, it's one of those, if you need a score, it's under 5 minutes, did you lead it? So it was based off drives rather than the comebacks. I'm just saying Lawrence made some nice throws in the fourth quarter. And again, I thought the Allen pump, fake the screen, wheel route to Kincaid was a beautiful design and everything. The Jags got ETN in space for their go-ahead touchdown. I thought there was some good design in those plays as well. And then Allen comes back, Bills take the lead, and then it's like, all right, Trevor. If not now, when? I was just tweeting that for everybody, by the way, because that was what everybody was talking about for Allen. It was like, Bryce Young, if not now, when? Yeah. Matthew Stafford, if not now, when? I know you did it in 21.
Yeah,
If not now, when, Josh? Well, now. Trevor Lawrence, if not now, when?
I do think that this was not – one of the big questions going into this game was, can Trevor Lawrence maintain the level of play he's been at for the last, 6 weeks or so, where he's been playing absolutely out of his mind, looking spectacular? I do think he dipped in this game.
Overall he did not.
This was not a particularly good Trevor Lawrence game, certainly relative to those plays. So the answer to that question is no, he can't actually maintain that level, or he didn't anyway, whether or not he could. He did not play at that kind of level. And honestly, if he had, they probably win. I mean, they do win this game. But he didn't. And so, unfortunately, he now has to have like another bit of lore added to the reputation that he's going to be amassing in the playoffs, along with Justin Herbert. Meanwhile, Josh Allen gets one on the other side of the ledger, and he can kind of dispel that bullshit. But that's kind of the way the world works, unfortunately. This was a game where it's like I kind of wanted both these two teams to progress, but obviously only one of them can. I'm glad that Josh Allen gets that monkey off his back so we don't have to talk about that ridiculousness.
Well, if he loses this week, it's all on him.
Again, yeah.
I want to shout out Tre'Davious White. Just really quick for both. He made 3 plays on the ball. The one that he made, though, on 3rd and 9, third quarter, it's 13-7, and it is just outstanding. They're playing old school spot drop cover 3, just straight up spot drop zone, and the Jags have essentially the cover 3 beater, right? They're running 2 seams against spot drop cover 3. This is like it's 4 verts or 4 like being threatened by 4 verticals, which the Jags did. They ran hitches on the outside or curls on the outside, but they run the 2 seams. Like this is the concept that led to the Seattle cover 3. Right. We're like, there's 3 deep defenders and there's 4 vertical routes. We can't cover this. This is impossible. We had been doing this for years by taking the corner and splitting the zone, right? He splits
the 2. It's always basically just an impossible ask.
Right. And you split the verticals, and if they both run it, it's like, well, you have to play 50-50 and read the quarterback's eyes and make the break on the ball. It's just a lot. It's just a challenge. And the Bills get caught, essentially, and spot drop cover 3, and Tre'Davious White plays it perfectly. Almost had an interception, but saves a touch. Like that should have been a touchdown. Yeah. It should have been at least down at the 1. And because he's being completely stressed by the route concept and the coverage that they're in, and he breaks on the ball, and that forces a field goal attempt for the Jags. That was the first one. And then, of course, the final play, just lockdown man coverage, tips the ball. Obviously, it gets tipped up right to Cole Bishop for the game-ending interception. So Tre'Davious White, and this doesn't happen, Sam. Like, he looked cooked.
He was good.
2 years ago.
He was toast.
Or it was the beginning of last year, right?
He's had like an ACL injury, an Achilles injury, right? He's had multiple significant leg injuries. He was basically, remember, their corners are supposed to be Christian Benford and then the first-round rookie, Maxwell Hairston, who's been injured for a lot of the year and was an injury heading into this game. So that's who we expected to be the Bills' starting corners late in the season going into the playoffs. Tre'Davious White was sort of signed as hey, we know this guy. He was good for us way back in the day. We're comfortable with that he knows the system. Let's bring him in just for insurance. And he hasn't just been insurance. He's out here making the key plays in the game for them.
Yeah, it was huge, man. He was the player of the game other than Josh Allen for the Bills. Huge plays. Obviously, the game ender. Bills go to Denver next week. Haven't seen the early line, but I think we didn't see this matchup this year. We saw it last year in the playoffs. Bills just felt like a better team last year. Denver, I think it's a pretty even. I think it's a pretty even matchup though, and it's still going to come down to I don't know if the Bills are a great all-around team. It'll be interesting to see what their defense does against the Broncos offense, but can't wait to see Josh Allen and the Bills against this Broncos defense, because you just know, like in this game, you need a 40-yarder, you need a couple tight window throws. You need a couple rushing touchdowns. Josh Allen's the guy. You need your offensive lineman to carry you to the end zone. Josh Allen can get carried. He's heavy, but he's
a big man.
He's light as when you get carried by your lineman, you make yourself light as a feather.
Like I would think
Josh can make himself light as a feather when he's getting carried.
I would think you'd have more success carrying Bryce Young than you'd have carrying Josh Allen.
Think that's what I'm saying. Like you should, but Bryce, he's probably like a dead weight guy, right? He doesn't do it well. He's probably dead weight.
He doesn't hang in the air.
Josh softens the blow so that he can get carried faster. He just does it all. I just can't wait to see him against Denver. For the Jags, a great season. It's another, the tone just completely changes depending on expectations, right? If the Bills lost, it's like McDermott's on the hot seat and Allen's a choker and Ryan Clark's upset and the Bills, if not now, when? You didn't do it. And for the Jags, it's like, good season, Hosted a playoff game, had low expectations, first year, building something big, and that's true. And that's true. There's a lot to like about that, but it's obviously a disappointment given that I really think if they got by the Bills, they could go on a run.
I mean, this is the thing. I think the playoffs are so wide open this year. I think there's most of the field, I think, is capable of going on the run that they need to go on. But obviously only one team is going to do that from either conference. So, yeah, I think you're right. Like, they easily could have gone on that run. I think Buffalo could go on that run. I think a bunch of the other teams can too.
Anything else on this one?
Nope.
I'm going to take a quick break to talk about our friends over at Root Insurance. Root Insurance believes that good drivers deserve better rates. So they created a new kind of car insurance that rewards good drivers in an easy-to-use app. Traditional car insurance companies focus on demographics like age, zip code, occupation, and credit score to price your coverage. When Root offers a rate, your behavior behind the wheel gets more weight than any other single factor. They don't use occupation or education level to negatively affect your rate. While you drive, Root gathers and analyzes data from your smartphone sensors, and after a few weeks, you'll get a car insurance quote based primarily on your driving. Save up to 44% off your initial Root quote after you take the test drive. If you need a tow truck, jump start, or lock your keys in the car, Root will cover the help you need to get back on the road when you opt into roadside assistance. The Root app makes it easy to edit your coverage, update your policy, or file a claim in just 3 minutes. You can get started today at Root.com. All right, 2 more games. The 4:30 game, San Francisco 49ers 23, Philadelphia Eagles 19. The Niners move on as the 6th seed to take on Seattle next week, pulling the upset in Philadelphia. Incredible final call here. The game winner, Jawan Jennings to Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah.
What a play.
The touchdown.
Sorry, that wasn't the game winner, was it?
No, that would have been the one before that.
That was the one before that, sorry. That was the go-ahead touchdown, 17-16. That's the one that's most significant, though. It was a fun game. It was 16-10 going into the fourth quarter. In another game, multiple fourth quarter lead changes.
Yeah. Really close game, really impressive game, really fun game. And ultimately, the Eagles, I mean, the perfect encapsulation of their season, the 49ers forced them into the situation of saying, all right, you need offense on this drive now. Make it happen. And the Eagles couldn't. I mean, that was ultimately it's how their season's been all year. Like, they have not been able to call on that offense when they've needed it. It's been here sometimes. It's been gone sometimes. But it has not been within their control to just summon it when they've needed it. And that's what the difference was in this game. The 49ers forced them into the situation where they needed the offense, and they weren't able to call it on command.
What a start to the game, too. I mean, the Niners come out right away. 50-yarder to Demarcus Robinson. Demarcus
Robinson barbecued Quinyon Mitchell twice in that opening drive, right? For the big play, and then toasted him on a slant for a touchdown. And you're like, number one, why are we even targeting Quinyon Mitchell based off how he's played this season? Number two, what are the chances that his kryptonite just happens to be Demarcus Robinson and the 49ers have accidentally stumbled into that? And then it turns out they just thought, Quinyon's just a guy you can target. And then later in the game kept throwing at him with various other people running routes against him, and he punished them for that. But it's like, why can't Quinyon Mitchell cover Demarcus Robinson?
50-plus yarder and then the touchdown. I mean, it was right off the bat. Brock Purdy looked great early on. The offense was cooking. I think they were talking about how Shanahan, the last time they played in that in the playoffs, how they started slow, and they just – I don't think it's a strategy to start fast, right? You're just like, we're going to – you know what we didn't think of last time is score on our first drive.
Points.
But there was something there was a little extra hey, let's make sure we get these – maybe call your best stuff early, whatever it was. But the Niners got out to that early lead. I was talking about Dante Pettis last week, about how the guy's never had more than 40 catches, but he's just around for 6 straight years. We need some kind of Demarcus Robinson. He's in year 8.
Somebody had a great stat recently on him. It was something like he's been to the playoffs every year of his career or something crazy. There's one of those stats. MVS was the MVP maker.
Yeah.
Demarcus Robinson has got some ridiculous stat where it's either he's been to the playoffs every year or he's been to the Super Bowl for 4 straight years or something crazy like that is associated with him. He's always hanging around Mahomes and or the 49ers, and somehow is always just cooking.
There's something about
and the Rams, right? He was, for some reason, Matthew Stafford's go-to guy.
He was Stafford's red zone go-to guy.
He was Devontae Adams before they had him.
There's got to be some sort of Demarcus Robinson award for being for longevity, but it's not just when he's good, he looks exceptional when he's on, including 6 for 111 today in the 61-yarder. So. Niners get up early. The Eagles answer right away. touchdown. They miss an extra point, which is
So it was windy.
Yeah.
However, Jake Elliott has also seems to have reached that period where he's kind of forgotten how to kick recently, which it's not ideally timed given that they're in the playoffs.
That's why I don't want to be an NFL GM. You just don't know when your kicker's going to lose it, and I
I
don't
think
want to be.
that's
I don't
fine.
want to be there when the kicker's going to lose it.
I think
don't
that's
want to be
okay
out
though. The lesson to that is to just never sign a kicker to a long-term deal.
there. Yeah, I guess that's fair. You're all just years.
Just know that at some point your kicker will forget how to kick, and then the thing is to just immediately drop kick
get
him
rid
out
of
of the
him.
room and
Get
go
rid
get
of him.
another one.
Get the next guy from Ireland and
Well,
move
go
on.
get the guy that did that a year ago, right? Because he's now fixed. He got off the hamster wheel, spent like an off season with John Carney or whatever, and now he's back ready to go. So you just go get that guy, or an Irish kicker.
What else happened here? The Eagles had. I can't figure them out, man.
Well, they had
Still
offense in the first half, right? Saquon looked great,
which means they're not going to have it in the second.
correct. But it was his best looking performance for a while. Even without, we thought Lane Johnson was going to be back for this game. He wasn't.
Saquon looked great.
Yeah,
I thought, in this game.
Saquon looked great in the first half. He was breaking big plays that they haven't necessarily had at this point. Looked dangerous on any given play. The Eagles went for 4th and 2 in the red zone. Part of that is the Eagles go for those plays. Part of that is, I'm sure, I don't know how much they trust Jake Elliott anymore, given that he missed an extra point already. They got the touchdown, Dallas Goedert. Then you get George Kittle popping his Achilles.
Man, that was tough.
Achilles tendons. I hate them. All they do is snap. They serve no purpose other than to snap and ruin seasons for people.
I'll say this too. Demarcus Robinson was open a lot, but he's still Demarcus Robinson. The fact that I thought Brock Purdy played a great game. He had 2 awful interceptions in there where he felt like late, tardy. If Brock Purdy was in the draft right now, you'd be like, hey, he doesn't have great velocity on the ball, and obviously makes it
in the wind as well. Yeah.
It's windy, right? But he doesn't have great velocity on the ball. Always makes it work. He plays with great anticipation. Fantastic accuracy. He throws the ball outside the numbers because he throws it early. But a couple times when you're just a little late and resetting your feet, the ball flutters, and it fluttered a couple times. So he's late. 2 bad interceptions. I thought he played great. And then high level, the fact that as soon as Kittle goes down, and you don't have Ricky Pearsall, you just throw into backups and Jawan Jennings and McCaffrey out of the backfield and the great Demarcus Robinson. But still, that is a difficult situation. Your whole defense is beat up, and they're outplaying their expectations from a personnel perspective. Really impressive what the Niners have done, and I thought Purdy played really well given the circumstances.
Yeah, I thought Purdy had a good game. Let me contrast for a brief moment the difference between Tom Brady in the booth and Tony Romo in the booth. Here you've got a game affected by significant wind, gusts up to 35 miles an hour or something. So Tom Brady does like a 60-second breakdown in the booth with physical demonstration of here's how to throw a football in the wind. You throw it with the nose down, so it cuts through the wind. You throw it with the nose up. Suddenly the wind takes it. It flutters. Bad things happen. Does the whole thing in like 60 seconds with demonstrations. Very well done. You learned a lot. It's like that's a really good additive to this particular game where this is an important feature. Meanwhile, Tony Romo is over here like some kind of, water diviner with the sticks being like, nah, there's water here. I see him throwing the ball slightly weird once he hit his finger, Jim. I see it. That means there's water right here. Dig. He's just out here like vibing, being like, yeah, I think I see something wrong with his throwing motion now, Jim.
I think Brady's worked hard to at least.
Brady has become very good and is providing useful information to the broadcast.
They've prompted him to say, you're Tom Brady, talk about throwing the ball nose down.
Obviously,
in the wind.
yeah.
Which you could tell. Like when he used to play in windy games, you could tell he was like,
right.
Boom,
but the point is, Tom Brady, with his wealth of experience, brought a useful piece of information and in a very good way over 60 seconds to the broadcast, whereas Romo brought nothing to the broadcast other than stupid noises.
Do you have any rants on Zach Taylor this week? You got anything on Zach? He's coming back.
He is, yeah. I don't think he said anything stupid during the week, though. So probably
we'll find something for you.
Something about the late night ones where you all hepped up in caffeine.
Once we just hit the 1 a.m. window, maybe I think this is when you went nuts last week. It was in the. This is your witching hour.
I don't know if it's a caffeinated thing or if it's a sleep deprivation thing. But one of the two seems to provoke. I think it's
I'm a night owl now, so like this is my prime time.
It's definitely the crankiness. Like this used to happen, in the early mornings. When you just hit a certain level of cranky.
Yeah.
For some reason, that's not happening this year in the mornings. It's happening in the late night.
You got a daughter. She goes to school. You're up earlier now.
That's true.
That's what it is. Now you're an early morning 40-year-old. And
don't like that.
Late night cranky Sam.
Yeah.
So we got to tell me more about Tony Romo and Jim Nantz. Tell me about the
pretty
Masters.
hateful.
We should do a Masters watch.
That Barstool tweet was great though. It's like Tony Romo being like, "Oh, look, there's Josh Allen going out with the supermodel, well hung." Jim Nantz, dead. First and goal for the 7. It's perfect encapsulation of their dynamic.
Oh, the tweet that hit me that was not nearly as funny, but when Dan Hansis said, "I feel like I've seen 1,000 3-yard runs from Christian McCaffrey this year."
Yeah,
was perfect. I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah.
Other things from this game. This was the game. A.J. Brown had a brutal game. I feel like for a while, I brought this up before. I was texting Ben Stockwell during the games, and Ben was like, I think you were too harsh to A.J. Brown on a play that we talked about a couple of weeks ago. There was one of those ones that was in the air, and I wasn't 100% sure if A.J. Brown really cared all that much about going to get it. There were multiple of those plays in this game. It's like none of them are like cast iron, like that was definitely giving up on the play. But you start stacking them all together, and it's like, dude, for a guy that's 6'2", 225 and supposed to be this dominant physical force, you're not really doing that at the moment.
I'm gonna watch them all now. I'm gonna watch all his targets again.
And obviously there was the drop late in the game, which was cast iron bad, but not in a lack of effort way, just that you didn't catch a damn ball that went into your hands. But there was the one, there were a couple of these plays where it's like it doesn't feel like he's doing everything he can to get the ball. And actually, the two in this play, the one where he didn't really dive for it deep, and then where he tossed Renardo Green to the side and then just didn't catch the ball after that, it kind of felt like he was stiff on those plays. It's like
the deep post, the first post.
Yeah, it's not well thrown, but it's like it doesn't feel like he really goes all out.
It's into the safety a little bit, and he's hearing footsteps from.
But you watch the replay of that, and it's like he doesn't lay out for that in a way that I think other receivers would have. Like, for example, later in the game, there's a high pass over the middle, and Devontae Smith goes to get that. Doesn't get it, but goes to get it knowing that he's about to get murdered, right?
And I thought Hurts
had he caught that ball...
He just missed it, but Hurts...
Right.
I thought Hurts missed that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But had he caught that ball, he would have been buried, by the safety.
Right.
Brown on these plays doesn't look like he's making that same level of effort to get those throws. And like I said, all of them are kind of debatable. But you're now starting to stack like a handful of these things together. And it's like, I kind of need you to make more of these plays.
The go ball was weird. That was the one that was strange because even just watching the broadcast, you're like, he had to like turn on the jets just to get there.
Yeah.
But it's because, he just ran into some Renardo Green contact instead of, I don't know, did old A.J. Brown just shrugs that off and goes
But
and
he
gets
did.
the ball?
He tossed, that's the thing. He did the hard part. He tossed Renardo Green to the side and then just like didn't really go and catch the ball.
Still out of his reach, though. I don't know.
But only because he didn't then go and get it. That's the thing.
The drop was huge.
Yeah, and obviously that's the easiest one to criticize him over.
It was a bad game for my very calculated, lukewarm takes when I'm like, oh, you think this thing's a big deal, but it's not really a big deal. It was a bad day for that because was it the Caleb Williams? Yesterday I was thinking about it. My pet peeve when they show somebody excited yelling on the sideline. My pet peeve
Nick
is
Sirianni and A.J. Brown going at each other.
What I hate more than anything is when you see, it's an emotional game, Sam. You've played football. You've been on a sideline. I've been on you hear what's going on there. It is just nonstop yelling at all times, right? There's always stuff going on. Coaches don't speak at a normal tone, right? It's just yelling and screaming and, organized chaos, right? And so when you get the broadcast to show, he's yelling because he thought on the 3rd and 2 he was open on the slant. It's like, you have no idea what this guy's saying. You have no idea what they're saying. That's my stance normally.
Yeah.
Not a good day for that because Sirianni and A.J. Brown were screaming at each other. Not a good day for my A.J. Brown. He's right. The offense sucks, and it's not his fault. He's not blaming everybody because he just didn't, he had a bad game.
It was his fault this time.
He caught his first
big
3
part of it.
passes, didn't catch his last 4, including the huge drop that would have put them into scoring range. So that was one of the sideline shouting matches. That was another funny tweet, though, because the tweet was basically they're screaming at each other, and Tom Brady's like, they've got a great relationship.
Yeah, that was funny. And the thing is, so it was funny because, number one, he was saying what you're saying. He's like, there's plenty of times where I've been screaming at people on the sideline. Like, everyone's emotional. This is how you communicate on the sideline. It's all good. And then I think kind of unluckily for him, right as he then went into saying they have a great relationship, they were showing a replay of them screaming at each other from like 3 feet away.
It's pulled apart and everything.
That's just unfortunate timing, Tom,
Yeah.
Your information was good. I think your analysis of the situation was generally sound, but it's just unfortunate juxtaposition to put that right up against the replay of them screaming at each other from.
And look, we don't know 100% of the story, so I'll stick with that part of it. We have no idea if every time A.J. Brown is struggling a little bit, that's how Sirianni motivates him, whatever. All I know is it didn't work, right? They were screaming at each other, and it got worse, including the drop with the game on the line. Had it turned around, you'd be like, that's how the story changes. That's how you motivate A.J. Brown, get him in the game, and you fire him up, and you get him pissed off, and it was rough. It was rough.
It was a rough game for a few Eagles. A.J. Brown had a bad game. Reed Blankenship had an awful game.
Yeah.
He just kept seeing he was at the root of every big negative play that went against him, including that Juwan Jennings to Christian McCaffrey touchdown pass, which, by the way, was an amazing McCaffrey catch. It was a good throw.
Yeah.
But he had to track that thing like over his head, which I always think is slightly overblown as a difficult skill. But for a running back to make that play is pretty impressive.
Yeah, I mean,
But it was Ed Reed Blankenship that went walkies on that play for
full
no particular
receiver
good
skills that McCaffrey has. He is special in that regard. He had the class 15 carries for 48 yards, but another 6 for 66 and the 2 touchdowns. That was the call, man. It was the first play of the fourth quarter, and it's so funny because Liam Cohen was going to get the too cute. You get in the red, you get the big play, and then you run the trick play, and it almost backfired for the Jags, but they saved it.
I mean, that's the new fourth
If this goes for -10, Shanahan got too cute. Too cute.
That's why you can't win the big one.
This play was fantastic, though. There was multiple elements. The same way I thought the Bears added that eye candy of the unbalanced line and Darnell Wright, the Niners had just run a jet sweep to Sky Moore. And every time Sky Moore touches the ball, I just assume he's going to fumble at this point, but he hasn't been for the Niners. But they had just run the jet sweep to Sky Moore. They run them. They kind of fake the jet because they run return motion, give it to him on the return motion, and then he pitches it to Jennings. So I thought that little extra, he did the jet sweep motion, then returned, goes back the other way, and still gets the handoff. I thought that little extra bit, watch the whole Eagles defense flow with it.
Yeah.
I thought that little extra wrinkle was outstanding. They get the ball to Jennings, who, of course, we know is a pristine playoff passer, and he gets the ball in the air to McCaffrey. What a call. Beginning of the fourth quarter, and that put the Niners in the lead. They lost the lead, but, man, what a turning point that was.
It was. Huge play. And like I said, really impressive catch from McCaffrey. That was not an easy ball to track into his hand, as particularly, again, for a running back. Good throw by Jennings. Huge call, huge play. The too cute thing, that's becoming like the fourth down decision stuff. It's just results will dictate whether it was too cute or the right call.
Yeah.
If it doesn't work, you got too cute. If it did work, it's genius.
I need to get off social media during these games because I just need people to say, I'm on the record right now, 4th and goal from the 1. This is a bad move. Take the points. And then when there's a touchdown, just say, well, they got away with it.
I mean, look, we're seeing this in other walks of life at the moment, but we have passed the point now where we can all watch the same thing on video and agree what happened.
Yeah.
This is...
No, that's true.
Even forget the results. You can't even watch the same thing and all be able to interpret it the same. We're in a full world of your truth is your truth.
Good point. So I'll lower my expectations when it comes to football games. We'll definitely do that. So that play was huge. Eagles still come back and get the lead by 2. And that's where, the missed extra point comes in. So the Eagles come back. They go up 19-17. And then it's Brock Purdy to Christian McCaffrey, the game winner. You were breaking down that route, watching Nakobe Dean trying to cover that thing.
It's disgusting to break out. Like that.
What a design there as well.
It looks like, if you're not paying attention to how it starts, it looks like just a simple running back angle route, right? The thing you see all the time, and you see them drill it in, the combine or the Senior Bowl or whatever. Running back from the backfield, starts out, comes back in over the middle, just that simple sort of pivot angle route thing, right? And even that is hard enough to cover for a linebacker. But this play starts McCaffrey on the other side of the formation. It looks like they're running him across the formation into the flat, which they do run regularly. And given that he came from that side of the formation, there is no reason whatsoever for Nakobe Dean to expect or anticipate that route to then break back across the middle as an angle route. It's utterly ridiculous. And yet, he gets vaguely close to it, and that was way better than he had any reason to do. Just, it's uncoverable. There's not a linebacker in the NFL comes close to making that play.
It's a long developing route, and you talked about it. I think Shanahan busts that out in the red zone all the time, where you run the opposite. Running back starts on the right, and he runs to the left flat, or vice versa, and then to turn it into basically the angle or Texas route or whatever is, good luck. It took a while to get there, but Purdy comes back, puts it on him. That's the go-ahead and eventual the game winner for the Niners.
So this had two things that got people whinging. In terms of game management, play calling, all that kind of stuff. When the 49ers score at the end to go up, why did they not go for two?
So they were up. So that puts them up 23-19.
Puts them up 22-19, right?
23-19 because they missed the extra point.
Oh, that's right. They missed it.
So that puts them up 23-19. A two-pointer puts them up at 25. Let me talk through this because quickly.
So the two-pointer would have put them up 6 points.
Put them up 6, right?
The extra point that they thought was a gimme would have put them up 5, which is no different from 4.
So at the time, I was thinking the 5 made sense because they were thinking, okay, if we give up a touchdown.
There's 2 minutes 54. Is that right? No.
2:59
right.
is when that touchdown. So right on 2:54, yeah.
So there's 3 minutes left, effectively, when they put this score on the board.
So had they gone for 2, they're up 6. Mm-hmm. And then if the Eagles score a touchdown, of course.
And missed the extra point.
They'd already missed an extra point.
Done.
Right, so then maybe it's still a tie.
It's tied instead of a loss.
Most people question that. My initial instinct, which could have been wrong after I thought about it more, my initial instinct was, okay, they go up 24-19. They're up 5. If the Eagles score a touchdown, so now they're up 1. I was thinking the Eagles would go up 7, but they wouldn't really. Because if the Eagles went up 7, if the Eagles got 7 to go up 2, that the Niners could still come back and win the game with a field goal. But they would if the Eagles scored a touchdown, they'd be up 1, and then they'd go for 2.
Yeah.
And then it's either
Which still would have been 50-50.
Yeah, but you have it. So, but I think that's what they were thinking.
Yeah.
But I don't even know if that actually makes sense.
No.
Because they still would have had to go for 2.
Yeah.
And if they didn't get it, field goal wins it anyway. If they did get it, field goal ties it.
Yeah. I feel like they should have gone for 2.
They probably should have gone for 2.
Particularly given they missed it.
But
results dictate
then it got
everything.
completely shanked.
And then the other one is when the Eagles run that drive. So they take over. They're trying to score. They're trying to summon the offense from nowhere. That's when Hurts hits A.J. Brown over the middle, stone-handed drop. They then get it to 4th and 5. Dallas Goedert does pick it up. That's actually a really good pass by Jalen Hurts. He reads it well. He hits Dallas Goedert. It's not a wide open throw.
He hits him.
Really good throw on 4th and 5 to keep the drive alive. Now we've got 45 yards to go, 2 minutes to get there. We've chewed up a minute to go, whatever that was. 3rd and 11, that's the risky pass to Devontae Smith we talked about, where he just kind of misses it. Looked like it started to fly in the wind. Even if Smith catches that, I think it's getting blasted loose by the safety that's coming in to kill him. That makes it 4th and 11, effectively all the marbles. And the second thing people got annoyed about was they called a timeout before this play. Whereas if they'd kept all their timeouts, they would have been able to get the ball back even if they hadn't converted the 4th down. Thoughts on that?
My initial instinct was the timeout. That screwed him, the timeout. Sam Schwartzstein, he suggested to me, he responded to me and said, because I tweeted, I thought they should have called a timeout. Should have saved the timeout. He said they would have had 14 seconds left. If they, don't get it on 4th and 11.
Yeah.
I think they'd have more than that. I don't want to question Sam. I haven't done nearly as much research as he has into the late game management, but if we talk through it quickly, there's 43 seconds left. It's 4th and 11. our old friend Timo makes a good point too. We don't know the play call that they're getting out of. Right. So the play clock's running down. The whole game's literally on the line on this play. You don't want to run a bad play. Right. So from that perspective, I get you call the timeout. But as soon as they had all 3 timeouts, had they failed on the 4th and 11 and had all 3 timeouts with 43 seconds, the Niners run 3 plays. They're not going to take a knee, so they're going to run 5 seconds worth of plays times 3, so 15 seconds. You're probably down to 25 seconds there, plus a punt. So maybe you've got 20 seconds from, say, your own 35. 20 seconds from your own 35. It's enough time to,
but you need the touchdown still.
And you need a touchdown. Yeah. And so it's certainly not a gimme.
Right.
And the best case is you're probably going to hit a deep out and throw a Hail Mary.
Yes.
And so in hindsight, where I initially thought, oh, now it's all on this 4th and 11, which is true. It all came down to the 4th and 11. The 4th and 11 at that point is the far more important play than just maybe getting set up for a late Hail Mary.
Yeah. I have no problem whatsoever with calling this timeout.
Yeah, I get it.
I think that yes, you would have gotten the ball back, but the situation you would have gotten the ball back in is so implausible in terms of getting a win out of that situation, given that you need the touchdown. If you only needed the field goal, different conversation. Because then you're talking 20 seconds, you might only need to go.
If they needed a field goal,
yeah.
You run a 4th and 11 play, and then, you're 2 chunk plays away.
Given that you needed the touchdown, I think it's way more important to make sure you're running the best play you think you can run on that 4th and 11, which is the game at this point. Now, turns out, whatever they ran, crappy play, because it had no shot at any point. He threw it at a linebacker, and 2 other players had a pretty good shot of stopping it, even if Eric Hendricks hadn't made the play. So whatever they thought they were calling, or whatever they checked into, or whatever they were like, you know what, this is the play, I mean, they were wrong. So from that, in the world of outcomes determine whether these were good or bad decisions, terrible decision, because you called an awful play and you lost the game because of it. But at the time, I have no problem calling that timeout. I think if you don't get the 4th down, in my opinion, the game is over. Technically, not quite, but so you need the 4th down. You need to figure out what your best play is for 11 yards on 4th down and put it out there. I think that's well worth calling the timeout for.
Someone in the chat suggests kick a field goal, kick off, use your 3 timeouts, and then all you need is a field goal.
They're also...
That would have taken too much time.
But they're also 45 yards. It's like a 50-something yard field goal with Jake Elliott having shaved an extra point.
That's the only problem with the wind.
In the wind. You're not making the field goal from there, probably.
The only thing that I thought is if A.J. Brown's still a superstar and able to bounce back.
Throw him the ball anyway?
Yeah, you know what I mean? Let him... I'd still live and die by A.J. Brown and letting him go up and just go out-muscle somebody and make a spectacular play that you're capable of.
I mean,
not
the ironic
necessarily
thing
on 4th and 11, but at any point when you're in the red zone, after his drop, let him fix it. Just give him an opportunity.
The real irony here, we spent the entire season talking about how predictable this offense is. It's just ISO routes to star players on the outside. And yet every significant play in the second half was working somebody over the middle trying to make a play. They actually went in the exact 180 opposite direction of their entire offense all season long. I don't know if they thought they were tendency breaking or whatever they were trying to do. It didn't work. Think of it, all the big plays, right? A.J. Brown's drop over the middle. Devontae Smith, 3rd and 11 before this, shot over the middle. The 4th and 11 play they dug out of the garbage bin, to try and get the best play possible, was just like a dig route behind spot drop linebackers all over the place. And then, so you then get the element of, 3 straight plays effectively with the game on the line. They went targeting over the middle where they never really target most of the time. The flip side of this is Robert Saleh and this no-name defense, linebackers 5, 6, and 7 on the depth chart. Eric Kendricks, being dragged off the scrap heap, is the guy that ends up making the play. From the far side of the formation, Saleh showed full blitz, everybody at the line, dropped the 2 middle
great play
inside linebackers out into those sort of spots in the middle of the defense. Kendricks was the far side guy who ends up getting across to make it. If Kendricks didn't make it, the other linebacker had a pretty good shot making it. And if that linebacker didn't make it, the safety behind him had a pretty good shot of making the play. So 3 separate 49ers players had a really good beat on that ball. It was never going to work.
It reminds me. So the Niners have won. I don't think you can give Robert Saleh enough credit.
Well, this is the thing.
what
So
he's done.
Salah, I think generally this season has done an incredible job, given the losses, given the injuries, given the bodies that he's working with. But the Eagles' offense is now such a shit show that I don't know how much credit he deserved from this game, other than, like he made some really nice calls. He put some guys in some great situations. But, like, I still don't think this is a good defense, and I still feel like a good offense would have hammered them. And the Eagles just aren't that.
Maybe. But there's been, like, they got hammered by the Bears on that Sunday night game. But when it came down to crunch time, and we've been a couple hours ago, we were raving about the Caleb Williams magic. It ran out against the Niners in that game. Every single Bears game comes down to the final possession, right? He had a great call on that final fourth down against the Niners, against the Bears on Sunday Night Football. Caleb Williams, they crowded the middle of the field, had nowhere to go. Similarities to this one because they had the all-out blitz look.
Yeah.
And I really didn't know. Like, if they went all-out blitz, you have one-on-ones everywhere, and Hurts probably throws it up, and, we'll see what happens. They drop out, completely bait him. It looked like the middle of the field was wide open until what you just described. 2 linebackers and a safety were right there. I thought it was another game-winning call from Salah there. And their defense, there was times they gave up a bunch of yards on the ground to Barkley, but man, they just play hard. They play hard. They play above their talent level. It is an incredible job. I'm not saying they're the 85 Bears or anything like that, but they're keeping them in all these games. And they kept him in this game enough to allow for a trick play touchdown and for a Purdy to McCaffrey touchdown to grab another win. It was impressive.
But even before the sort of last drive, just in my notes was, is the 49ers defense doing incredible work, or is the Eagles offense just as frustrating as ever at the moment? And I honestly don't know what the answer to that is. Like, the personnel they had should not have been able to make those plays. And I don't like how many of the plays that they made were like genuinely special defensive plays. It's like, this is the Eagles offense. Like, this is their season. They've been like this almost every single game, except when they play the Raiders. This has been them. And the 49ers, the thing is they made enough plays on offense against Fangio's defense to give them the lead and force the Eagles offense to actually make the drive, right? Like, that was the key. They got the lead in the game and just made it rest on the 49ers. Like, if it had been the flip side and the 49ers had the ball late in the game and they needed to make the plays against Fangio's defense, that would have been a different type of pressure. But I think putting all that pressure on the Eagles offense was where they wanted it. Like, let's put it on this unit because this unit has not answered the call too many times this season.
All right, let's discuss the Niners really quick, and then we'll recap the Eagles. I want to make sure Niners fans get their proper credit, right? I was really impressed with Purdy, again, outside of 2 throws. Reminded me of the Monday night game where it was 3 bad interceptions against the Panthers. But
Kurt Warner over here.
2 bad interceptions in this one. But again, given the circumstances, given what he's working with, all of their injuries, you pay Purdy all this money, and he made some big throws when they needed him. Shanahan making the great call because it worked. It wasn't too cute because it worked. The Juwan Jennings touchdown. So the offense, did their part, made some big plays late. The defense just continues to get it done. Just enough. But they're going to Seattle. Next week.
So that's the thing. I think there is an incomplete or there's an unanswered question coming out of this game, which is, how much credit does that defense, does Robert Saleh deserve versus how much of this is the Eagles, right? Obviously, we'll get a better answer to that next week when they're going up against an offense that has been more consistent, that can, take advantage of weak defenses and those kinds of things.
In a rematch of what we just saw on Saturday night a couple weeks ago with the number 1 seed on the line, where the Seattle Seahawks just dominated the Niners, and it wasn't even completely. What was the final? 16-3 or whatever it was. It was more dominant than the scoreboard, 18-3, whatever the final. And Seattle's rested, and this is one of those.
13-3.
What was it?
13-3.
13-3. It was only a 10-point game, but it felt, Seattle dominated. Niners only had 42 total plays. Seattle ran the ball like crazy.
They doubled
and it was in San Francisco.
Yeah, they doubled the yardage.
Yes. So they've got Seattle next week. And for the Eagles, it's for all year we were like, is this last year's Super Bowl run or is it 2023? And it wasn't a 2023 like
somewhere in the middle.
It wasn't the collapse.
Yeah.
But the season did end in the wild card round.
Mm-hmm.
But that wild card, I think they lost like 32-9 against the Bucs, and it was like,
no, they got wrecked.
This is expected,
right?
But this ended with the defense was mostly good. They gave up a couple
disappointing,
plays.
not embarrassing,
right? But you're gonna have the questions. Sirianni's on the hot seat unless he's like holding the Lombardi in his hand for some reason, because I don't know, whatever people love to be like. I'm telling you, it used to be the quarterback, right? It used to be, you got to get rid of the quarterback because they just lost a big playoff game. Now it's like every coach who loses a playoff game's got to go. But you got Sirianni questions.
Yeah.
Big Dom's safe. He's just catching passes, breaking up fight. Huge game for Dom.
I want to know how much they're paying him because I looked up. Ben was asking me what his title, like what does he do?
It's full-time security,
and
he's a scout. So he comes down to the Senior Bowl
and game day coordinator or something. Anyway, the point is, when I Googled him to find out what he actually did, he's been fined at least so far $175,000 by the NFL.
What?
Like whatever about a head coach or like a player, who are getting paid.
You can fine Dom that much money?
That's a shit ton of money for like a regular human being. How much are they paying that man that he can eat $175,000 fines?
That's a lot of cheesesteaks they're fining him. What?
And he's driving around Mobile and Escalade and stuff. Like he's clearly doing all right, despite the $175,000 fines.
Get the high-end jumpsuit.
How much is Big Don bringing in?
The high-end jumpsuit like Uncle Anthony would wear.
Or do you think it's like he's actually on, a relatively modest wage, but like his tips are awesome, Like Dallas Goedert's just dropping him $20,000 for a Christmas gift.
That's what, like, I remember the major league clubhouse managers.
Yeah,
they make like $40,000 and then get
peanuts,
tipped
but like they're getting cars and stuff
or something. Yeah. So I'm sure he's on good salary. But Dom had a huge game.
Yeah,
caught more passes than AJ. No, he didn't. It was close though.
He caught at least one.
So, is this the end of AJ? I mean, Mister, don't overreact to anything. Don't overreact to AJ Brown. There was a point in the season, like I thought this might be the end for him in Philadelphia anyway, but today especially, it just feels like that might be it.
I think contract-wise, it also makes sense now to part ways.
It'll be interesting to see what Philly.
That didn't look good today.
As awful as their offense felt it a lot of times this year, and especially at like 4 drive stretches at a time, that's a big blow. Like just the on paper losing the wide receiver 1 of A.J. Brown. You have Devontae Smith, but what made the Eagles special last year was having Saquon, having those 2 receivers, and in any given game, you have success with whoever's hot and whoever's open. So that'll be interesting to see what the Eagles do, and if who wants to kick the tires on A.J. Brown and see if you get a motivated A.J. Brown.
No, he shouldn't be. I mean, the weird thing about some of those plays that I'm talking about, where like the ball's in the air and he doesn't seem to care that much about going to get it, like he's only 28 years old. He should not be. There's no physical reason that he should be stiff, wooden, and not really selling out for these passes, and yet that's what he looks like at the moment. I don't know if he's dealing with something injury-wise or if he has just kind of checked out of their season for whatever reason, but he shouldn't be looking like that at the moment. So you should be able to bounce back and still be really good.
Yeah. And they still have a very good roster.
Yes.
And I think that's why people have higher expectations for Sirianni. It's like Howie gets all the credit, and it's not misplaced credit for Howie.
Yeah.
It's a good roster. We rave about it every year.
I think it's also because, even though they've been, like, they're the 3 seed, right? Even though they've been good and winning a lot of games, like, we've been pissed off with their offense for the entire season.
Yeah.
Like that, and that's not the first time that's happened under his tenure. Like, this is, I think, why he takes a lot of crap.
And I know the defense was a little bit worse than last year, right? It wasn't as dominant as it was last year. Like, if high level, take a step back, Howie said, we just won the Super Bowl. We're gonna lose. We're gonna lose Milton Williams. We're gonna lose Josh Sweat. We're gonna lose Mekhi Becton. We're gonna lose some players. Like high level, they kind of expected to take a slight step back. It's just the offense took a bigger step back, losing Kellen Moore, I think, than they had expected.
Yeah, he also, I feel like his personality might not do him any favors when it comes to runway with people.
No, I know, I get it. Anyway, we should hang out with Dom down in Mobile. See if he wants to hang. If we can get on the sideline.
Yeah, which doesn't seem like
it's touch and go. It's touch and go right now.
It's a new regime.
Need a favor called in.
if anybody's listening that controls Senior Bowl credentials.
Need a favor called in. Can't be in the huddle. I was like in the huddle.
Maybe you're the problem. Like they've taken a look at the footage from the previous years and they've been like, who is this big oaf standing there like in the drill? We need to stop that happening.
Yeah, it was like me and Mike Tomlin standing right next to the right tackle as he's doing one-on-ones. It's all right. It's all right. Just you take a little. You've told me use your size. And really, I don't get that close. I let people get in front of me. I let like the O-line coaches are like 5'10", and I'm just like
loom over the top of it.
I sit over the top.
The way
you can see me in a lot of Senior Bowl footage, just standing in the back.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So now I won't be there anymore. Okay. Is that it for that game?
Yeah, I think so.
And then the worst game of the week.
Yes.
All of these games came down to the wire. It was an incredible weekend. New England Patriots 16-3 over the Chargers in the Sunday night game. Patriots will move on to the second round, playing the winner of Texans-Steelers at home next week on Sunday. It'll be Sunday, TBD. Low-scoring game, obviously, back and forth, a lot of field goals early on, and then the biggest play in the fourth quarter, Drake made a Hunter Henry 28-yard touchdown, beauty of a pass to make it 16-3. Chargers just could not get anything going offensively. Their defense hung tough, though. I thought both quarterbacks were either under pressure or just didn't have they just didn't have a lot of places to throw the ball in this game.
Yeah.
Both quarterbacks, Herbert and May, were the leading rushers on their team.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how many fumbles they both ended up with, but I think they each had 2. Justin Herbert was sacked 6 times. Drake May was sacked 5 times. There's actually a lot of similarities back and forth, other than May had a 37-yard run that set up a field goal and a couple big passes down the field and just made a few more plays, and Patriots move on.
Made a few more plays and just had a bit more help and a bit less. It was a bit less of a, just a terminal problem from the outset. I mean, this was the game. There have been a couple of these games this year where it's like the Chargers' offensive line is just getting so badly wrecked that Herbert really doesn't have any shot. And in most of those games, he's found just enough plays to A, keep them in the game, and then B, eke out a win or, not be done for. And this, it felt like maybe that was going to be the case. Like it was close for a long time. But they just couldn't find any plays at any point. Meanwhile, the Patriots were able to get a couple and sneak out a lead. And at that point, now you're chasing the game and you've got no shot whatsoever. I mean, he was just getting buried every play.
Yeah, it did feel like when the Patriots started, every time they would blitz or have a twist or stunt or anything. I mean, it was just 3 rushers
like they had this
collapsing pockets.
There's one stunt, and Chris is on the broadcast being like, man, I've been looking at the tape, and the Chargers' offensive line really struggles to pick up these stunts. I'm like, they also struggle to pick up everything else. Like the Chargers' offensive line struggles against everything. It's garbage. It's like, why are we? I mean, yeah, they do struggle to pick up stunts, but also, not stunts and blitzes and 4-man rushes and like everything else you could throw at them.
It's funny because I think in the preview I was like, look, I think this offensive line comes back to bite them at some point. The Patriots.
I didn't think the Patriots.
I said the Patriots
team,
could exploit.
Yeah.
I mean, they've got dudes, but I didn't think that they would exploit. Like the Texans or Broncos are more equipped to exploit.
I mean, this looked
so
like
it was
the
like,
Eagles game.
The Chargers could win this game, but at some point they'll run into the Broncos, they'll run into the Texans, and then it'll just be done.
This looked a bit like the Eagles game where, Herbert played that Eagles defensive line. He was pressured like 70% of the time or whatever. And, okay, somehow that was close, and he made a couple of miracle plays in that game. It was the same, and he just couldn't find the couple of miracle plays.
I mean, the Patriots, the number of big plays that they got that initially set up the field goals, like their longest play for a while was a check down to Ramondre Stevenson, kind of a coverage bust by the Chargers. That helped set up their first field goal. Drake May with a really nice scramble before the half to set up a field goal. And then the Hunter Henry pass, which Derwin James just missed getting his fingers on the ball, fingertip.
So close to stopping
and
that.
It was a beauty from May, who didn't have a great game. I thought both quarterbacks, like they were getting hit a lot and then just trying to do a little too much. Like Herbert got away with one early. He's sitting there wrestling and fighting, trying to throw the ball away. He just barely gets it into a
underhanded backwards from his own goal line.
From his goal line, right? I thought they were both just like a little risky with the ball and put the ball on the turf a couple times. One of the plays of the game, Drake May, there's a batted pass, kind of an unlucky interception for May early on, deep in their own territory. So the Chargers are set up with incredible field position and go 4 and out. And the box score is kind of funny.
From the 2. That, when you think about it, given the way that game started, if the Chargers had found, can you imagine if they found a touchdown on that play, given the rest of this dynamic of nobody scoring?
Yeah.
If they had actually gotten a touchdown early off the bank of that instant red zone from the batted pass interception, instead the Patriots go full zero blitz, come all the way after them. Herbert's forced to run out, and then skies one over the head of Keenan Allen, I think.
And the first 3 plays were Herbert runs in it. So the box score is funny because it's they ran Herbert 3 times. They were scrambles slash keepers.
Right.
So it wasn't all designed, but they just didn't have it. Great goal line stand by New England, and for the Chargers, like you said, just a missed opportunity because they get no points on the board, and then they lost the benefit of the field position almost immediately because that was Stevenson checked down, and before you know it, the Patriots are at midfield. So that was a huge turning point in the game, and then eventually later the Chargers settle for a field goal, and they start trading field goals, and even a 9-3 game. When you have these ugly games, you just know one big play, right? Flips it. Remember last year in the playoffs, Herbert had a horrible game, 4 interceptions, hits an 86-yarder to Ladd McConkey against a great Texans defense. So even when you're getting beat up, coverage bust happen and big plays happen. That's why the May pass to Hunter Henry was so big to make it a 2-score game. And
that's what the Eagles game was like when he was getting buried, for by 70% pressure or whatever. That he just kept it close enough, and they made a couple of miracle plays. He only passed for 140 yards. His stat line in that game is awful, but he made a couple of ridiculous plays that were just enough to end up putting the points on the board and overcoming it.
New England's defense did a good job in this game. Pretty much balled up. Vidal was the runner. Omarion Hampton tried to come in for a couple snaps, could barely do much, so they went with Vidal. And
he had his foot or his ankle or whatever strapped up hard before the game. They were talking about it on the broadcast, and he was like, "No, he was like, he's good to go." It turned out he wasn't good to go.
He was not. But yeah, I think it was a combination. I don't think Herbert played well. The offensive line puts him in a bind, and they're just, he's getting sacked every time they're trying to make a comeback. That Patriots defense was fierce. They did a great job. I mean, they weren't getting pressure early in the game necessarily, but once it progressed, they were getting after him, man. It was rough. Collapsing pockets and free rushers left and right.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was tough. The Patriots defense really did a number on that offensive line. It just didn't have a chance.
Same thing on May. I thought May was okay. Again, a great throw to Hunter Henry. Did a nice job with his legs, but even he took a couple negative plays. I thought the Chargers beat the left side of the Patriots line has been fascinating because I think overall Will Campbell's played really well as a rookie left tackle. Jared Wilson has played okay for a rookie left guard. But something about when they're out there together, teams just attack them with stunts and twists and miscommunicate. They've been attacked when they're playing next to each other, which has been most of the year.
Right.
Wilson's been in and out of the lineup, and Campbell missed some time. But when they're together, they get attacked, and they did a little bit here today, yesterday now. And my question with May, though, is a couple times he's feeling the pressure. Odafe Owe had a huge game. He's feeling the pressure and still trying to throw it and trying to do a little too much, and it didn't cost him in this game, but just something to keep an eye on. Put the ball in harm's way a couple times.
Yeah, according to NGS, Will Campbell gave up 6 pressures, including 2 sacks in the game. Chris was remarking that he has a habit of throwing on the anchors right at the quarterback, which is otherwise known as giving up pressure on the play.
Yeah. Campbell's been interesting because, again, I think he's been good overall. I think some of the advanced stats are good. He's got some ugly losses in there, though. It reminds me of the college tape, right? Because a lot of my college notes are
every pass rusher had at least one really good play against
every
Will
pass,
Campbell
a
somewhere.
really clean win. He gave up more straight up clean wins than a lot of other tackles, but he still won more than most people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So similar type of game for Will Campbell. So again, we'll see who they play, right? Texans or Steelers. The Texans defense clearly can get after you. Steelers, they played them earlier this year, and it was a turnover-laden game, and It was in New England. That would be a fascinating matchup. Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers going into New England. So either way, going to love that matchup. From a Chargers perspective, is it just another – it's easy to look at Justin Herbert and not doing much and say another disappointing game.
Well, it's going to –
in the playoffs.
It's the stupid world that we live in where this is now – again, it's like Trevor Lawrence. This is getting added to his playoff lore of, well, Justin Herbert's just a disappointing postseason quarterback, right? It's like, yeah, okay. But the way I always think of the postseason is once you get to the playoffs, all the opponents are better. The difficulty level goes up. The games are harder. Your weaknesses get exposed immediately. So if you've been getting through the regular season with a major weakness and most weeks you're able to get by it, other weeks you're not, the chances are those weeks you're not in the regular season. I mean, that's the playoffs every week. So did Justin Herbert have a bad day today because he's some sort of inherent playoff choker? Or did he have a bad day today because he has literally the worst offensive line in the NFL and he went up against a pretty good defense? I would argue it's the latter, but people will stack this on top of other playoff performances and say the former.
Patriots had, Milton Williams had a couple sacks, huge, like just dominant one-on-one win against Bradley Bozeman.
Yeah.
Did get away with a punch to the face to Justin Herbert.
I don't understand how that wasn't called. I mean, look, trust me, I would, in this world of we've changed the game in the favor of player safety, I might roll it back a couple of years, right? Let's allow a few more things to go unpunished. But if you're going to have this as a rule of like hits to the head of quarterbacks is a roughing the passer penalty, it doesn't get much clearer than that. I mean, he was knocked to the floor by an elbow to the head.
Yeah, it was pretty clear. It was like Mike Tyson punched to the face, knocked you down.
I mean, it was like a full forearm. It was sort of like the whole arm cracked him on the head. And then it's not like, sometimes you see these ones and you don't really notice because it's just in the blur of the play. But like it knocked him over. It sacked him.
Yeah.
Like you can't have failed to notice it. It's like, hey, why is Justin Herbert on the floor now? Oh, yeah, that's right. Someone clocked him in the head.
It was like the tripping call that sacked the quarterback a couple weeks ago. It's like the trip is what tackled him. You have to call that.
It's like, why is he on the floor? Oh, yes, it's the trip.
But the Patriots pass rush with Kayvon Chason, Harold Landry, Milton Williams, Christian Barmore, a couple other guys in there mixing it up. And then, when they started blitzing, Marcus Jones coming in, Christian Ellis, they had Ellis doing a lot of spying. And I thought it was a really good job by them up front to take advantage of the Chargers because it's not always just dominating the guy in front of you. Some of the plays are like Williams against Bozeman, but it is the stunts, the twists, the 5- and 6-man pressures. I thought they did a good job disguising who was going to be the spy and making sure that they were keeping an eye on Herbert as a scrambler. So I thought they did a really nice job all the way up front.
That was a significant no call, by the way, that blow to the head thing as well. Because if they call that, it's an automatic first down. And that's more time coming. And this was before the halftime the Chargers were trying to drive. Now, based off the rest of their game, let's say they don't go anywhere. But even if they don't, they get the first down, they get 3 more downs before they have to kick the ball away. And then because the way it actually happened is they call that a sack, big negative play. The next play was a sack as well. And then immediately the Patriots have the ball. The first play or one of the first plays then is Drake May running through the entire defense because they for some reason called 2-man coverage against a mobile quarterback. And all of a sudden they're kicking points before halftime. So the Chargers might not have put up any points based off how they were playing for the rest of the game, but they might have stopped the Patriots putting those 3 points on the board. Like that was probably the difference between the game being tied at halftime or the Chargers being down by 3.
Patriots got up 6-3 at that point.
Yeah.
And all the points mattered at that. It was all of it was a weird sequence because Chris was saying the couple plays earlier where Herbert got stopped on a sneak and then they reversed it. Like that was a huge play. They didn't even know why it got reversed. Had it not, they may have punted.
They looked at it. I don't know why they made such a big deal. Like the guy told them how it happened. It's because they went to break and then were confused.
They came out of break and then asked Terry.
Right.
It's like you didn't ask him during the break. But happened?
Terry was just like because they looked at it on replay and determined he was short. Simple. Done.
The Milton Williams play,
they were just confused by it.
That did probably take 3 points. Put 3 points on the board for New England because the Chargers probably run the clock the rest of the rest of the half.
Yes.
But again, it probably didn't matter with the Chargers.
Oh, no. I mean, I don't think there was any
offense.
real way the Chargers were winning this game based off how badly that offensive line was getting its ass kicked. But that particular no call was probably a 3-point no call based off how the rest of that sequence unfolded.
The big question about New England all year is about competition level. I thought clearly their defense stepped up and played a great game, made life difficult for Herbert, for the run game, for everything the Chargers were doing. Offensively, it's a good Jesse Minter defense, right? The number of times where they either had some quick pressure or Mays just got nowhere to throw. Like, that's what the Minter-McDonald defenses do. They just don't give you a ton of easy throws. The Stevenson one, like a couple easy throws, but not many during a game, right? And it took a pinpoint throw to Hunter Henry to finally get the ball into the end zone. Again, I thought May a couple times in the pocket tried to do too much, but, you know, he just played really well in the second half overall, though, and got them on the board, and Patriots survive, hosting the Steelers or the Texans next week.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, you know, the question with the Patriots going into this is we know that they've had the easiest schedule in the NFL this season and one of the easiest ever, but that doesn't mean they're not good.
Right.
And so I think this was a game that showed you they're still good. I mean, the Chargers is a very good defense. They did just enough to beat it. They exploited it when it broke down. The play where Drake May, like, teams do not run two-man coverage anymore because of mobile quarterbacks like Drake May and Justin Herbert and everybody else that you see throughout the NFL, right? Because as soon as those guys look at two high safeties and man coverage, they're like, oh, there's nobody looking at me. I can run for miles, right? Like Kaepernick exploited this back in 2012 or whatever it is. It's like a 15-year thing that people have gone away from doing. And for some reason, like late in a half sequence, the Chargers dial this up. And literally the second Drake May identified it, he's like, gone. He knew the second he identified it, all that means is if I can just, you know, sidestep these guys at the line and get through the line of scrimmage, I'm gone. And he did. He ran like whatever that was, 40 yards through the defense to make a huge play and set them up. So I don't know why that was a weird defensive call. But basically every time the Chargers defense made any kind of slight mistake, the Patriots were able to make enough plays and exploit them, and then obviously their defense just wrecked shop against that offensive line. So, you know, they're going to face tougher competition than the Chargers, but they faced a good, if not great team in the Chargers and beat them.
Another place where I was wrong.
Oh, wow.
In the fourth quarter, Patriots had a 2nd and 2 and used a timeout. And with the play clock running down, and I thought maybe that's a mistake.
Yeah.
In this close, it was 9-3 at the time, and maybe it's still a mistake. 9-3, 2nd and 2. I said take the 5-yard penalty. It's the second half. You need these timeouts in a one-score game. This is huge. They take the timeout, come out of the timeout. They rattle off a 13-yard run, and then the next play is the 28-yard touchdown. So in hindsight, you know, maybe they got into a good play on 2nd and 2. They saved. I was thinking. And I think the analytics would normally tell you, the data would normally tell you 2nd and 7 versus 2nd and 2, not that big of a difference.
Right.
You could survive that. It's not like the 4th and 11. It's not like 3rd and 8 to 3rd and 13 or anything like that. So I thought they should have just taken the delay, saved the timeout. Didn't end up mattering, so I was wrong. Just didn't matter.
Okay. I think somebody in the chat was saying before with the Herbert stuff, it's like it's funny how it's always Justin Herbert having this type of game in the playoffs. That's his 3rd playoff game, right?
Yes.
I mean, again, if anyone has been listening to this podcast for any period of time, a sample size of 3 games in the NFL it's nothing. 3 games, again, particularly when you're talking about an elevated level of competition in the playoffs, 3, by definition, pretty good teams, minimum.
Yeah,
it's
3 on either side. I think Mark Sanchez is like 4 and 2 in the playoffs and been to two AFC championships.
So
I don't think that would sustain if the guy. The reason why it didn't sustain is because he lost his job as a starting quarterback.
Yeah.
So anyway,
I'm not saying it's not the case. It's entirely possible that Justin Herbert has some sort of inbuilt choking mechanism and he will never be a good NFL quarterback in the playoffs, right? That's possible. Might be the case. And if it is the case, his first 3 games in the playoffs will probably look a lot like this, right? I would say there's probably a larger chance that Justin Herbert is, in fact, a very good quarterback, and he just happens to have had 3 games to start his NFL postseason career, one of which, this one, he had no shot in because his offensive line is hot garbage, where he didn't play particularly well. Like, this is the problem with this. It's not like the analysis here isn't, making excuses for people or talking about plays that didn't happen or if, buts, and shoulds. It's like, is this actually, what should your takeaway be from this? Your takeaway from this should not be that Justin Herbert is crap, right? Which you might think if you just looked at his stat sheet, if you looked at his production, if you looked at the way the game went overall. You might come to the conclusion, if this was the only time you had seen Justin Herbert is a bad quarterback who doesn't belong in the playoffs, right? And if you further looked at 2 previous playoff performances, you might start to back up that conclusion. Like, reinforce yourself and be like, all the evidence I'm looking at right now tells me that Justin Herbert is a bad quarterback and doesn't belong in the playoffs. I would argue that leads you down an incorrect pathway.
Now, what if the 3 playoff games include a 3 or 4 score lead that was blown?
I'm certainly not saying that's ideal.
4-interception game last year against the Texans.
Yeah.
And then a 3-point game here.
Yeah.
3 points against New England.
I mean, those are bad.
What if those are the 3 games?
Those are bad. But, again, a sample size of 3 is not good. It's not a lot in the NFL, right? I can probably go and find you 3 games from basically any quarterback in the history of the game that look like that. If you allow me to pick the 3 games, I can probably find you 3 games from Tom Brady that look like that. Now, not in the playoffs. That might be harder. But still, the point being, a sample size of 3 is not enough to be making those types of declarations, particularly when, again, in this game, you'd be like, what was the problem here? The offensive line.
I mean, if Josh Allen, who's played great in the playoffs, still he has to deal with, I mean, it's all on you now, no matter what happens. Wins and losses are all on you, Josh. And he's played great. He hasn't even had bad games.
Yeah.
It's not even like, well, Lamar's had all these, like, Lamar's stats aren't even that good.
Right. I mean, Lamar legitimately did play. Like, Lamar's not a bad proxy for this. Like, he legitimately did not play well for a few games.
Right, until he started playing well.
Right, at the start of his playoff career. Then he actually did start to play better. Now, it didn't necessarily get reflected in wins. But you're right. Josh Allen was actually playing really well in those games and was still being talked about as not a good playoff quarterback.
Well, it's another disappointing finish for the Chargers. Where do they go from here?
To the offensive line market.
They do, but like they're also
getting them back.
They're getting the 2 tackles back. They still need work on the interior, but I think that's obviously going to be a huge part of their offseason.
Yeah.
Khalil Mack's a free agent. I think Odafe Owe is a free agent, which is why they got him in a contract year, I believe. So a couple pieces on the defense that they're going to have to figure out, as well as the offensive line. And their receivers should be better. Like when the Chargers were at their best this year.
Well, earlier we were
saying he's got all these, he's got more than Ladd McConkey to throw to.
Yeah, getting the offensive line better.
They haven't solved that with the pass pro issues.
Yeah, getting the offensive line better will make the receivers look better. Now, good enough? Don't know yet. But it'll be better than it looks right now.
And then for New England, is there a matchup you'd like to see? Texans defense coming in there, or the Steelers-Patriots rivalry renewed with new faces, potentially?
I don't really want to see the Steelers in another playoff game beyond this one, to be honest. Unless they really come out and look good against the Texans. I kind of feel a little bit like the Panthers, you know? Like, I'm kind of glad they were there, but they were the obvious, redheaded stepchild.
I think the matchup for the Patriots is far better if it's the Steelers.
I think their chances of winning?
Yeah. I think they carve up that defense.
Right.
The Steelers defense.
Yeah.
I think because they lost the first time in a one-score game with like 5 turnovers. Yeah. Like they were handing the ball to them in the red zone.
I don't feel like the Steelers bring much to the playoffs beyond this game.
I got a feeling the Steelers win tomorrow night.
Same. I think they might win, but I don't want
hours from now.
I don't want to see them. I don't really want to see them in this game. I don't want to see them play another game if they win this game, unless again, if they come out. Because remember, we're a couple of weeks removed from them actually looking like they were starting to get it together, and Rodgers being more aggressive and hitting DK, and suddenly this thing, you're like, maybe they could make some noise. And then the Cleveland game happened. It was like, not fire Tomlin. So, I mean, if they go back to that the second they get DK back, yeah, maybe.
I'm jumping ahead, really, because the chat minutes ago, as we wrap up here for the show, suggesting A.J. Brown to the Steelers.
Can we get him now? Is it time?
right now.
They're out of the playoffs, so can we bring them
the
over?
Transfer portal, it's open. Just let them go. That'd be
great, wouldn't it? As soon as you get eliminated, you can go somewhere else.
A reunion between A.J. Brown and DK Metcalf.
Oh, from Ole Miss.
How about the fact that they were Ole Miss teammates?
Who was the third guy in that picture? There's 3 jack dudes.
Oh,
Two of them were A.J. Brown and DK Metcalf.
So they were – I don't think they crossed paths with Treadwell.
No, it's not him, right? Is it?
He wasn't the third. He came before that.
Yeah, it can't be Treadwell.
But they were there. Dawson Knox, I think, might have been the tight end.
Right.
Then?
Yeah, but he wasn't in that picture.
What?
He wasn't in that picture.
Oh, you're talking about specifically the
There's
receiver
that picture of the 3. There's 3 jack dudes.
I don't
Two
remember.
of whom are A.J. Brown and DK Metcalf. Like the one where they're flexing with the 6-packs and just looking huge. There's a third guy in that picture. And I don't know who it is.
I don't know. Look
You've
it
seen... Oh, is there really? Maybe there isn't a third guy. Maybe this is Mandela
It's
effect.
the two of them. The third guy, there's no third receiver that's like famous.
I may have Mandela affected this and just invented a third guy in my brain.
It's 2 a.m. Your witching hour's over. Now it's like you just, within 2 minutes, you might fall asleep at this point.
Well, no, I got to drive home.
Don't do that. You'd be asleep at the office guy.
There's another picture where there's a third guy, but the one I was thinking of is
the
just
picture with the third guy, I think, is unrelated to the depth chart at Ole Miss.
Got it.
If I remember. All right, that's a great. How long did we go?
Quite long.
It's between 2 and 3 hours. When did we start? Who knows?
It's hard to say.
But fun show. Good times. Appreciate everybody for being here. Tonight, Monday night, if you're listening to this before Texans Steelers, you can sign up for the membership. Some people were gifted memberships. We appreciate all those who were, excited to have everybody that was gifted memberships the last couple days join us for Steelers and Texans. Full watch along here tonight from the office, Monday night, and your Monday morning review show on Sunday night. We're just doing it earlier. It's like the Black Friday sales that start 3 weeks early. That's what we are. We just started early. We're doing that the next couple Sunday nights as well. So appreciate everybody for staying up late with us. And we'll see you Wednesday, full check the mic, and then tomorrow night, Monday night, for the watch along and instant reaction.
In a few hours.
I'm running out of words. I'm tired. Enjoy the rest of Super Wildcard Weekend or wherever we are. Check the mic.